And then what else do we need? We needed. Oh, right, Twitch. That's what.
Twitch is like, hey, you're online, but it's also like, hey, you're not online.
Yeah, it literally just usually takes a few seconds at least.
So how about that PS5?
Ooh.
I swear, Microsoft and Sony this time were just like, okay, packed. We both make the silliest looking machine we can.
Oh, jeez.
Also, we don't announce our prices until the other one does, and so it's not going to be till release day that we learn what it costs.
I'm not sure if that's an agreement or a game of chicken. But either way, the result's the same.
I mean, kind of, yeah. You know?
Ours is $499. Ours is $475.
Yeah. $498.
Yes, and that was our bait price. Special offer for the first 3 months, $497.
People.
So
all right, I
last
assume
time,
we're live.
Oh yeah.
Last time. So last time was the final time. We had started the Skirp locked in a room by himself with two rather large golems coming after him after he decided he was going to blow up the words that were written on the hourglass and brazier situation in that room. He very quickly decided, probably correctly, it was more in his favor to fight the door instead of the golems. And the party basically beat down a door, got him out of there, and yeah, it worked pretty well. Moving on from there, they found at last the crypt area of Ravenloft, and very slowly, very carefully went through almost the entirety of the crypts, not opening them, just opening the ones that they thought might be, as they sought out the Wizard Ordinaire. A trap was set off. Some other curious things were mentioned, but they in fact found the tomb that was marked as Wizard Ordinaire. Opening it up, finding a small casket, and solving the puzzle of the staff, which we'll get to that. They found the holy symbol of Ravenkind waiting there for them, a powerful holy symbol against vampires. It could allow you to hold a vampire, cast daylight, and is generally very, very awesome in the hands of a paladin or cleric. They then are like, okay, I think it's time. Yes, Ravenkind Raven, that is you. They're like, okay, we think it's go time. Let's go. And went back to the brazier room and grabbed the stone to, I forget which color it was.
Might have been orange.
But basically, I could open the book. Cast it into the fire. The fire became the color of the flame. Yes, orange. Specifically orange to the castle's peak. And coming through, they found themselves in this kind of dank-looking bedroom. Strahd standing nearby. And that is when the fight began. The party instantly okay, let's go, jumped at him, and he kind of laughed at them and just sunk through the floor. Went to the room just below that, which happened to be a giant pulsing crystalline heart, thereby bringing to light the last of the card readings of looking to great heights and find the beating heart of the castle. What followed was, and what I want to believe was an epic fight, with the daylight eventually overcoming Strahd's power, as he fell, taking a lot of damage, and hitting all the way down the North Peak Tower, before hitting the bottom and disintegrating into dust forever. After that was a very, very brief Super Metroid escape sequence where the castle basically began falling apart, and rescuing of Arena, thanks to Moose and the quick thinking of Gideon. However, it appeared to be too late, as she had fresh bite marks on her neck, and she was very slowly and painfully transforming. And as the party was standing over her trying to make a decision of what to do, Tally prayed, and we ended up seeing Sergei von Zerovich appear, who effectively saved her soul, pulled it from her body, and they walked off together into the rising sun. And that was the end. Now then.
Okay, questions in
Yes.
the most recent order I can remember.
Now we're immediately into. So first of all, chat, if you don't understand where this is it. This is the Omega session. So if you don't want spoilers and knowing what's going on behind everything, this is your only warning.
I think before we're doing questions, Skirp has something he likes to say first.
Oh, Skirp.
Yeah, this sounds like a good time. Some time ago, when it became clear that we were wrapping up, I felt the need to do something to commemorate the occasion, and so I reached out to the guy who did the original Skirp.
Oh
portrait.
man.
And we've been working for the last couple of months, going back and forth. And I'm proud to reveal what should be the final draft of our official team portrait. It is now, the full-size version is in Discord. I recommend you click Open Original, and you can get.
That's amazing.
Oh my god,
It's so good.
I haven't looked at it in full size yet. And
Oh
That's
man,
so good.
look at Floki.
look at
We
Loki.
could have
God's
his face.
face.
All.
All right, chat.
That's
I'm going to
perfect.
do you guys the justice to not just put that on the screen like I do right now, but I'm actually going to blow it up and zoom in on some of the finer details that you probably can't see via stream without me doing this. So give me 1 second.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
it's so good. There's Kilt.
I
So-
think Kilt's face is one of my favorite things.
Oh my god, I didn't see that.
He's
Top
slightly
left.
crying.
He sent me an early color draft last week, and I was like, hey, couple notes, one of which is, can you make Kilt 50% more terrified?
Oh, the free hands in there.
So here's Kilt that they were just
Plural.
talking about,
Oh
crying
my
with
god.
his flute.
Oh, this is literally the best thing ever.
Train Kilt
Here's
well.
our goblin, right?
A blood spear.
And then you got Gideon with his, aspect of the wolf / he's a werewolf. My favorite thing about Gideon's portrait, selfishly so, is if you look on his thing, you can see Squirrel on his robe.
Oh man. Oh, it's amazing.
And then that's obviously Tyler's shield. That's always got light cast on it.
Yep.
Any other details
Oh
you want me to
my-
point out for stream to be very close?
I'm be honest, this is the first time I've seen the detailed version.
So you guys
Moose,
see in the top
Moose
corner,
looks amazing.
you got
Moose-
all of our characters are basically here in all of its stories. All 3 of my characters made it in here. For those of you who
I
have
mean-
not met Savage Oxygen, this isn't that bad of a representation
No,
for
it's
him mixed
really
with
not,
Strahd.
actually.
Like, this is really well done. Like, could be a character of him if you were to make him a vampire.
That's
Pretty sure he is a
fantastic.
vampire.
The more I zoom in on like the moon, I love the moon.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm so into this picture.
The only thing that's missing, and this is easily remedied,
Tell me.
is just a pile of destroyed papers and books below Skirp's feet.
Oh my
The twig
god.
blights all dead under tally.
I like how he's not even wearing boots.
No. Who needs them?
It was like, after the first thing, I commissioned it and I was like, here's the thing, and went back and we coordinated on the layout and everything. And the first draft he sent me just had Skirp like basically done in the front, and I'm like, good, no notes. That's you get him. You've understood Skirp. And then, oh
Man, that is. I almost have no words for this.
I'm so pleased.
Okay, just wait. Do you guys know there's more than just the free markets there, right? Because the hand.
There's a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple hands because there's one over Skirp's
Yeah.
shoulder, one
There's
on his hip.
Gideon's knee.
There are many hands here.
Which one is that one?
I
I
think
mean,
it was
he
one of the
collected
cool
a lot of
hands.
hands.
Yeah.
Is the free market the only named hand?
Isn't the free
yeah.
market invisible?
Yeah, that's
It
the
is.
one we
There are
can't.
3 hands there. Man, ooh.
Moose
God, I love
looks
the little, like,
way
bone
cooler
finger.
in this.
Right.
Quick.
Moose is awesome.
Quick question about Skirp.
Hit me.
That emblem on the shield, was that already fully baked, or was that something he came up with?
That was something that we went back and forth with a lot on the
Okay.
first portrait.
Because that I love the little like beholder eye kind of thing.
Yeah, that was we spent. There were a couple elements. You know what? Let's be honest. Most of this, I basically said, "Here's a description. Please put your own pizzazz on it." And for for Script Shield, I was just like, he found the shield. It was an order of lorekeeper knights who like valued books, and so he graffitied it so that it was on fire, like crayon style, like put a crayon in a child's fist and like graffiti fire on it, and so yeah, that's
That's amazing.
One last small detail to point out. There are a few that are like just in there, but please appreciate Kilt's emblem.
Hold on, zoom in here.
Oh God! Fucking son of a.
Get a piece
That's
of
wrong
pie.
on so many levels.
He just wants a piece of the pie.
Some moon pie or whatever it was.
Oh, the dream
Dream
It's
pie.
the meat
Dream
pie.
Dream pastry.
Yeah.
Oh, that is officially the worst and greatest thing I've ever seen.
Oh man. So
I just like on first glance, I was just like, okay, generic like medieval symbol number 4, like very artfully done, awesome. And now that I'm looking, I was like, I cannot believe he did that.
oh man.
That's so messed up.
Oh,
Okay.
this is-
Due to
Do you want-
COVID, the deadline on this got pushed back a touch, so that I'm like, here's the day of the final session. He's like, I think I can do that, and I got this morning. So so even though I wasn't able to order the prints, I would recommend. It looks like the resolution's good enough that you could get a decent sized poster out of this. And
Honest to God, I think I'm going to.
I will probably do that. Like,
If you find a good place to order from, link it, and
okay.
I want framed.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Skirp,
you're
do you
giving
mind-
permission, I'll probably get a canvas done of this.
that's
Oh, yeah.
awesome.
Skirp, do you mind sharing a little bit about who the artist is?
Oh, okay. So hey, that's a good call. Since we're in stream, so I found this artist. He goes by Jared Draws Jared, as one word.
In the lower
It's-
left of the picture.
Yeah. Thank you.
Enhance.
Jared draws Jared. I found him on Reddit when somebody posted a portrait that he had done of like their kobold, one of their kobold characters, and then I went in and found like a few kobolds that he's done, and just the style that he was going in had these sort of like blunted, rounded off noses, and it was like cartoony, but not super cartoony, and it just felt like a really good vibe. But I'll say that when he was doing humans a couple years ago, I was really like I wouldn't have commissioned him for a human portrait. So I was a little like nervous about this one, but they came out so good. Like they're so pretty.
Man, not expecting that.
I would write. He's on. I don't know where he's active right now, but you can find him on Reddit at Jared Draws Jared, and you can see some of his older stuff. And then I was able to commission him through Twitter at the same handle. So if you're interested, the guy was incredible to work with. The price was really good.
If anybody has any of those
particularly
links,
for,
feel free to drop them in chat.
For a
that's
single
amazing.
character portrait, and the amount that he worked with me and said like, I did a bunch of iterations of this, and I tried this, and it didn't look good, and I did that, and then taking the feedback, and the type of feedback I gave him was like, could you make Tally look more determined? Could you make like Kill look more scared? Or, and then for the, you know what? I'm gonna put one more image in the chat. It's the reference image I sent him for Killed It. 1 second. It's
Man, we gotta talk about Tally being determined too. We'll get to that.
where is there's Discord. This is the chat. Here is my Photoshop. You are welcome.
I love your Photoshop so much. Like it's one of the things I look forward to most at work.
Hot Rod Broadsword.
All right, give me a second,
Rod
chat.
Broadsword.
And I'll show you what he's talking about. Here you go.
What just happened to you, Raven?
Oh man.
Yeah, so
That's Gideon's
Oh.
reference image from Skirp. To get this image of Gideon, this is the reference that Skirp sent
That
him,
is-
saying, "Come on, artist, turn this into what I want."
That dude is
That's what he did
talented.
with it.
like the back and forth, the amount of like, he sends drafts and you give him feedback, and so it was great. I'd do it again.
Man.
Tally's shield has a great design.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the design.
I don't remember that from the drafts being as noticeably good.
He
Much
put a lot
bigger at
more-
the very least.
Wait, is this what you guys were doing when you're all being
Maybe.
No, not at all.
after,
No,
I don't know what
no.
you're
We were
about.
definitely not plotting
Fuck you.
against you.
We were totally
Mhm.
playing How to Kill Strahd. That was all we did.
Uh-huh.
Couldn't you
Nothing
tell from our
suspicious here.
tactics? Oh,
Yeah, right.
Man, that's good.
I'm gonna step away for like 20 seconds because it is
Mhm.
warm in here and I gotta get the fan going.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, now you're welcome to
He's
go
just-
ahead with your questions there, Gideon.
He's just so emotional. He needs a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, at the top of the tower.
'Kay.
It feels obvious to me, but I feel like there was some confusion within the party. That is definitely not Strahd's bedroom, right?
No, it is not. So, the mongrel folk that you met with the that
Took care
your
of the
horse.
horses. Yeah.
That is one of his rooms.
Ah. Okay, the chains and buckles and stuff makes a little more sense. So were we completely off track with like trying to get into the chest?
So the chest actually has some stuff in it. I'm flipping over to that page right now. So North Peak Tower. So the chest in it, it's locked. The mongrel folk has the key. Otherwise, you would have had to break into it. It has in it a gold crown that's resting on a silk pillow. It's basically the crown of the von Zarovich family.
I think Tally, or Rap at least, was under the impression that might have been something needed for winning the fight in that, since it teleported us up here.
Yeah,
But then there was
No,
the beating
it's-
heart of the castle, literally right below us.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was part of it. Like this, I got real Davy Jones locker vibes from it,
Mm.
and I was just like, silly me, assuming metaphorically we were talking about things, and then we walked down the stairs, and it's like, nope, that's a giant, big, fucking beating heart. Okay, cool.
Can we
There were
talk
a
about
few
that
times
for a
that-
second?
The giant beating heart, or
No, the fact that there was zero metaphor in our reading.
no, your readings were basically, as soon as you find this, you will find this.
We were looking for meaning when it turns out it was literal for every single step of it. It just killed me.
Because
I mean, it's one of those. Sorry, go ahead.
A fortune typically doesn't tell you, like, step one, open, step one, do this. Step two, do that. Question mark, profit. Usually, it's the question marks that you get, and not
Yeah,
the literal,
it was
like, step by step, bake your cake directions.
generic. It was generic enough to not be like, "Hey, this is in the castle," but also specific enough for like, "Hey, this is totally in the castle." Like the search for the crypt of the wizard ordinaire, his staff is the key, and then you get into the crypt, and there's a staff sitting there, but the staff is literally a key.
Well, it's like that in particular too, though, is like I was curious, like how long you were going to let us go, because we assumed that there would be a crypt somewhere. Much less did we expect it to be literally labeled wizard ordinaire.
Right, I was just looking for like wizardy names.
And we
I
kept
figured once you got into the crypt and you started seeing that there were nameplates, you'd be like, "Okay, here we go."
So, is there a backstory as to why they call him a wizard ordinaire, or is it just like that's what his
Some
name
of them,
says?
some of them actually have like a paragraph of text, and some of them are literally 2 words. Let's see. He was in crypt 37. No, he doesn't have any background.
What?
Wait,
So the
is
flavor,
it a
the flavor text I
oh.
gave you guys, that's all that's there.
Is it a random crypt that the staff ends up in, or
That's what I'm confused by.
No, so the staff is always in that crypt. It's that crypt is not always an item location.
Wait, what?
Okay, hold on. This is something
So-
that's actually
so-
worth kind of doing.
The
Start at
tarot
the beginning.
reading, there
The
was a
tarot
whole
reading.
bunch of spots that could have had each of these things, right? So based on our reading is where
It's
the items are gonna
literally
be?
it's a
Oh, the tarot reading was random. It randomized parts of.
yeah.
Oh.
So like this, for example, let me get the deck out. There's actually a full deck. So let me see, I need the common deck and the high deck. So you do 1 through 3. Did I drag you guys over here? it says
We're
you're
still on the world map.
You are? It says I drag.
we're all DMs, so we move ourselves now.
All right. So open up the map tab in Taroka reading. Should have the player tab on it.
Mm.
Taroka reading?
Okay.
So
Got it. Okay.
recall, and then we'll do one of these live here. So you have this board in front of you. You can see the hidden text, and you come through, and from the common deck. So the common deck actually gives you where the items are located, and then the high deck gives you locations about the castle, which is who your ally is going to be and where the final showdown is supposed to start. So, for instance, the first one is the wizard. And then you go and say, okay, so for card 1, he got the wizard, and then you go and pull up the card readings for treasures locations. And it'll be stars, and that is
So the holy
wizard.
symbol.
It is the master of stars. So it says, look for a wizard's tower on the lake. Let the wizard's name and servant guide you to that which you seek. and that is specifically Van Richten's tower.
Hmm.
So it's in Van Richten's tower in this case, the first
Interesting.
item.
Okay.
And the first item is the Tome of Strahd. This card tells of history.
Hmm.
Knowledge of the ancient will help you better understand your enemy. And so then you go to card 2. This card tells of a powerful force for good and protection, a holy symbol of great hope. And then we have Swords, the warrior. And so then you flip over to Swords. And that's the Master of Swords. You guys keep getting all the Master cards. That which you seek lies in the womb of darkness, the devil's lair, the one place to which he must return. That one would have stuck. That's literally Strahd's tomb.
Was one of the teleport points Strahd's tomb?
Yes, it was. I believe it was yellow. And then we do 3. And that is the 5 of Glyphs Druid, and that's for the Sun Sword.
Master of Glyphs.
It's not. It's the 5. Where's Glyphs? Sword, stars, coin, glyphs. 5 of Glyphs Druid. An evil tree grows atop a hill of graves where the ancient dead sleep. The ravens can help you find it. Look for the treasure there. So the Gulthias tree, where you fought all those druids with like the lightning and everything way back when.
I remember.
This is where the Sun Sword would have been. And would have basically been in like at the base of it, like its handle kind of like in like a thing you have to reach into.
Hmm.
And then you move to the high deck. And you deal 1. And drag that to 4. And it is the Raven, which is Strahd's enemy. And the Raven is... Find the leader of the feathered ones who live among the vines. Though old, he has one more fight left in him. So Davian Mardukov, so the barkeep, would have been your ally.
And by ally,
So the ally is someone... Your guys has actually changed a little bit because of how things happened. The ally is somebody that doesn't necessarily help you in the fight against Strahd. It's more like helps you to fight Strahd. Though there are some that will literally be like, okay, we're gonna go do this and punch Strahd in the face.
So was Van Richten our ally?
Yeah, Van Richten was your ally. His entry for it though is kind of like he'll agree to help you guys, but he also has issues with helping people because of Esmeralda. So his goal is to kind of be there as support and then eventually get you into the place you're supposed to be. But what happened with him is that Strahd figured out where he was because of your guys' being in and out of the tower all the time. And there's specifically a thing about Van Richten. It's like Strahd would love nothing but to find Van Richten and kill him. And so that's basically what happened. And kind of from that and how you guys ran into Esmeralda, she morphed into, the fates kind of decided that from that point she was going to take over that role as kind of his protege. And that was a problem of basically her not finding you and you guys not finding her in the castle.
But she in the castle.
But she was also there, kind of running interference for you guys.
Oh,
where would we encounter?
She was actually in one of the higher levels of the castle. So if you had gone to like the 2nd or 3rd level, she would have been up there because that's where she ended up most of the time.
Did we just like get incredibly lucky in our picks on the path through the castle, or
basically, yeah.
Because we're just like, let's go down and only
that card will not go away.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's the stupid marionette again.
It's the same one that we got the last 2 readings.
The last 2 readings, you got the marionette again, which is look to great heights, find the beating heart of the castle. He waits nearby.
What's another one, for example?
Well, let's just draw the next one on the stack, shall we?
The marionette.
Also, I probably would have burned the book. So that is the Tempter. And that's for Strahd's location in the castle. Tempter, I see a secret place, a vault of temptation hidden behind a woman of great beauty. The evil waits atop his tower of treasure. So this refers to the study. In Strahd's study, there's a picture of Tatiana, and it is behind her picture.
Like the heart is?
No, that's
Or-
where
Sorry.
or that's where Strahd would actually be waiting for you, is in the study, looking at the picture, basically sitting there waiting for you.
So is
Gotcha.
this fight a whole lot harder if we don't like incidentally fight next to the heart, which we can break?
So the heart is like temp hit points that regenerate. So yes, because for some reason, like, you keep doing damage and he keeps getting it back, and you basically, he just has that hit point battery sitting up there floating in the castle without you knowing it.
That makes sense. The times we fought him before, we didn't even seem to do damage to him when we were.
No, he doesn't care. And pretty much as long as that thing has 1 hit point left, he's immortal. Where the fight fell down was I kind of figured we didn't want to chase each other around the castle all night, and B, the sunlight. Like, when you get him in sunlight and he doesn't have a good way out, that fight just kind of ends.
Oh yeah, I want to go look at his stat block.
So
He is
Strahd von Zerovich. Oh god, he doesn't have a stat block because we messed it all up.
So he is a challenge rating 15. Shape changer. He has legendary resistance. He has regeneration 20 so long as he's not in sunlight or running water, which is another thing you guys ran into all the time. Look under either NPCs or monsters. He should be in there.
yeah, he's under named NPCs, I think.
Yeah, but I can't look at his.
Click on the. I can look at him.
Oh,
You just need, like, you click on
it's got
character
like a character sheet, not a. Okay, that's interesting.
He's also a 9th level spellcaster.
Jeez.
Well,
Well, I'll be.
So
you
there
did
were a
that
couple
on
times
us.
too that. So one of his 5th level spells prepared by the stat block is scrying, and so
Oh.
there were a few times when I'm like, I wonder what the party's doing today, and I would have him go cast scrying to figure out kind of what you guys were doing. So oftentimes when he seemed to kind of just appear, that's where he would be, is because he was watching you guys.
I know I'm jumping around randomly, question to question. Moose.
Yes.
Okay, as a player, not a character.
'Kay.
Narratively, once we passed through the flaming green thing and Moose's eyes color changed, I thought, okay, now he's Strahd's creature. As a player, I'm like, at some point, he's going to flip on us at a key moment.
No, that was 100% just me,
Just flavoring. Darn.
just flavoring him, having something cool kind of to personalize him.
I was waiting for that moment when I was, commanded it to grapple Strahd and he came up and grappled me instead, or.
Yeah. No, the shield golem is 100% as shield golem. So you find the amulet, which if you find the amulet and figure out, it's a matter of kind of being in the right place at the right time, which you ended up doing. Like, if you had just had that and then you guys never went down below, or you just left the temple, you would have just had an amulet worth a couple thousand gold. And that
Yeah, that's all I thought. I was like, oh, an amulet worth a couple thousand gold. My character wants that.
Yeah.
And then we just happened to have Floki was desperate to see all the things, so we had to take the full tour.
Okay, so while we're talking about that staff is either a party wiper or it brings the party together. There's not a lot of in between. The other group I ran, pretty much after their what was he? I think he was a warlock. Got it. Pretty much their whole goal was they escorted him around the entire temple to see how much power we could get. Because to them, they're like, okay, we have a walking Strahd cannon now. So we're going to take you, point you at Strahd, and cool guys don't look at explosions. And then they tried to turn him into a lich, which was a whole different thing.
How did that go?
It actually killed him.
There
He
you
didn't
go.
survive it killed him, and so he had all of the powers. So he had one of the regeneration powers, or reincarnation powers. So then it killed him, and then he basically crawled out of the ground like 20 feet away. And the party's all like, "Who's this guy?" And almost got ready to fight him. And yeah, that
So
was
it's
different.
straight like reincarnation, where
Yes. So Floki had that power, reincarnation 3 times.
so you come back as a different race each time,
Yep.
or random race.
So that's why when you saw Floki a couple times, he kept coming back looking different, but he still had all of the same powers, because the powers are basically they're mired to his soul. So they're curses. So no matter who he is, those are a part of him.
So, speaking of people crawling out of the ground,
Yeah.
I would love to know more about what was going on with Skirp, and like if he was just immortal after that first resurrection, and also just to put this on there, what was the picture book doing?
Okay, so the picture book was something of my own doing. There's the option of when you run this, when a player dies, or even as like a starting character, you can have them be a revenant. And I decided when I didn't do it for the other game that I ran, but when I started this one, I said, okay, first character that dies, basically they don't necessarily get a free out, but they're coming back as a revenant because I think it's thematically appropriate. Later on, I wanted to do a little bit more with it, so I effectively gave you a phylactery, but it was your own phylactery. So it was this kind of ironic sort of thing, like, yeah, the guy that hates books, of course his soul is going to be bound to a book because it's Barovia. That's how Barovia works.
Is that like giving like if there was a wolf lich, you gave it like its phylactery in the form of just a bunny?
Yeah, like a T-bone steak or something.
You're like, you put it in there, and you're like, hey, Skirp, better not kill yourself.
So there was, I mean, in my mind, there was 100% chance of you getting that book and going, that's a book, it's evil, I'm blowing it up, and then all of a sudden you just like falling over, like clutching your chest.
You monster.
That said, there was an endpoint for the phylactery, which it kept pointing you to. It was, revenants work in such a way where they stay alive as long as their goal is still alive. Like they have, the revenant thing keeps them going. Which is how the entirety of Argynvost Hole works. Yours was to basically find your phylactery that you didn't know about. It was looking for you. And then take the phylactery to its endpoint, which was the study in Strahd's castle, because it was full of books. And to me, that was the most fitting tomb for Skirp. Like the place for him to die would be in that study.
I think rather than tomb, you mean funeral pyre.
I mean, potatoes. So that was kind of the end point there. If you had gone there, there were a couple ways to get there for the party that I thought the party might go. One was the fire that you throw the stones into. I believe it's red takes you there. The other was by kind of letting Tally go upstairs to know where Irina is. It put a marker to like, hey, we should go upstairs, and try to get you going in that direction. So that's one of those things that it was there, it didn't kind of play out, and since Skirp survived that and the castle isn't there for now, he kind of goes on. So there's this almost like sequel thing for whatever adventures come after. That said, one thing I didn't so much leave out as I kind of modified for the very, very end bit. And there are 2 versions of it. One of them is really, really, really just super grim. And the other one is that basically there's no actually breaking the curse, because Barovia is a cursed place, and the dark powers, while they might give Strahd a slight reprieve, they'll never truly let him go. And so eventually, like, darkness comes back to the land, clouds come back in, the animals get more bold as their former master comes back, And so then the castle kind of pulls a Castlevania where all of a sudden it reforms itself and it's back again. And eventually the surviving party members, one morning they're doing whatever, they come out to their front doorstep and there's this letter with, the wax seal and Strahd's family insignia pressed into it. And it's that, you might be able to get away from him, but he's never going to let you go for very long.
Oh my god.
And I did not, okay, take this with a grain of salt. A grain of salt that's on a grain of rice.
Go on.
So this was based off the original Ravenloft module. It's rewritten for 5th ed.
Mhm.
Which has this other storied past where the original writer, brief history because we're going into all of it, they were doing a random, basically just like dungeon crawl, and they came into this room and there was just a vampire in there. She's like, but why is there just this random vampire in this room by himself? That's the most boring thing in the world. Like, vampires are these great massive creatures that have tragic backstories, and so she kind of took that vampire in this room by himself and made it into this giant sprawling campaign for AD&D way back in the day. That said, there is a second module called The House on Griffin Hill. I have since sourced this module and have looked at it several times in terms of 5th conversion. Because, it is straight up AD&D. It would be pretty much built from the ground up. Maybe, like I'm saying, take this with a grain of salt. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
We have a question from chat for each one of us. And that question is there something you wish you would have done in the adventure, whether it's explored an area instead of leaving it or taking a different way, etc.?
I really want to know about the old bone grinder,
I knew that was coming.
just because it was just sitting there menacingly for the entire adventure. It was like right in front of us from the very beginning, and we never went to see it.
Let's talk about that real quick, and then we'll go to the next person's. So the bone grinder is exactly what it sounds like. It is a TPK engine. So it actually ties into Kilt. So the hag, she's a hag that you guys ran into in Barovia Village, like session 2, that had Kilt stuffed underneath her cart.
Yeah.
They basically come and they sell their dream pastries. And the dream pastries, it's a drug, effectively. People can forget their troubles. That's how a lot of them deal with the madness that is Barovia. So Kilt's parents couldn't afford it anymore, so they sold Kilt to basically get their fix. So what she does is she gathers whatever children she can, goes back to the bone grinder, grinds some bones, makes some more pastries, and comes back to town again. So there's a couple of markers for that. The first is that encounter you guys had. The other is the deed that you find in the death house at the very beginning of the game. Kind of points you there. In the bone grinder are 3 hags.
Oh,
which most of the time the party is not high enough level to deal with 3 hags.
Are they named?
They are. One of them's Morgantha, I know off the top of my head. She's a night hag.
Okay.
And then there's Bella Sunbane and Ophelia Wormwiggle. And that's their coven. And it's a small place to fight in. The again, kind of the difference in the parties. The other group I ran it for, they TPK'd there. Just they were level 3. They walked in there and they were all like, "Guess what? You're a frog now," and they kept going around until everybody was a frog, and then the hags had frog soup.
I do not regret not going in there.
Does that answer your question with Bone Grinder?
Night hags are scary, especially if there's 3 of them, because
Hmm.
don't they get like 6 level spells if they're
Yeah.
all together?
Yep. They get the
I bet.
access to their hag spells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are within 30 feet of one another. Dead. I didn't know that. And
Yeah, they suck.
that was
So
for basically the entire campaign. That was a source of moral dilemma for me because it's maybe the one thing that I accidentally had spoiled for me. Is what was in the bone grinder, and so I just, if it ever came up in conversation, I just kind of abstained.
Was
Which
it
in his, he told me about a long time ago, and I appreciate that he didn't meta that because he very easily could have.
was it possible for one of the fortunes to make us have to go to the bone grinder?
Hmm. Basically, every place on the map, at
Yeah.
least once, you can end up going to. This
So
deck,
it's-
it's a 52 card deck.
So it's also like really possible that you don't even. Well, I guess actually it's how it's designed. You actually don't need to see very much of the world to
Mhm.
get the mission accomplished.
In some ways, you can be very lucky, and everything's in Valaki. Perfect.
Everything lines up.
Or you can get hard mode, which is everything's in the castle and there's no ally.
Oof.
Which I've pulled those cards before, just kind of randomly sitting here, which is
Speaking
hilarious.
of cards,
Hmm.
the only okay, I'm looking at the tarot reading thing, and you've got your GM notes in there.
Yep. That was something we need to address because that was one of the big mistakes I was super, super upset about.
Okay. Well, you mean the switching of the locations,
Yeah.
or
What happened?
okay?
So in like reading the descriptions, I had crossed where the locations of the holy symbol and the sun sword. So the sun sword should have been in the castle, and the holy symbol should have been in the Blue Water Inn.
Oh, that would have made so much more
Oh.
sense for Tally to get a holy symbol from the Ravens.
Mhm. And by the time I had realized what happened, it was just way too late, and I was like, okay, fine, we're just gonna roll with it.
Okay. Here's the other question then. The thing you seek lies with the dead under mountains of gold coins, and then it has a location there.
So as we moved on, I liked the idea of every card kind of having a tie to a single individual,
Okay.
and the actual reading. So that should have been also in the castle crypt as well. However, what I changed it to was it should have been the Five of Swords, Myrmidon, and that is, look for a den of wolves in the hills overlooking a mountain lake. The treasure belongs to Mother Night. And that's what the actual card reading would have been for that. But there was a pile of coins, there were a bunch of dead people, and I had a werewolf PC. And I was like, this is just perfect.
Okay. It felt right there. I mean, I looked around and I said, hey, this fits all the criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that kind of worked out.
And
But was
there's
it-
a little snip in at the front of like the fortune instructions is like, if there's something that works better for the party, like go with that. And I was like, yeah, we need to go with that.
Was it supposed to be in Argynvost's horde?
No, it should have been in the castle crypts below. There was the one that says like, we knew him only by his wealth. And you walk into that, and it's literally a mountain of gold coins, and it's sitting there among the treasure.
I'll say this: if we had gotten 2 clues that took us to the crypt, we get 99% of the way through the adventure, and they're like, "Here's 2 of the items you were looking for, all across
Yeah,
Barovia, within
would've
5
felt-
feet of each other."
That would have felt much less interesting.
But it can happen. Like you can
Oh,
get
yeah.
literally everything in the crypts if it happens that way, which is less fun. I
I
agree.
feel like if I ever run this, I'll probably handpick my
Yeah.
So to that point, there are I've recently come upon kind of like the Halloween rules for this, and it's called Strahd must die tonight. And it's just the castle, and so you stack the deck to just be all castle cards, and you draw it like it's in the castle. You drop them at the front gates of Barovia and say, "Okay, Strahd's in there somewhere. This is your reading. Go." And so the goal is kind of like a Halloween one shot where you face off against the vampire. That said, I would totally stack that deck to make sure that they were spread as far across the castle as possible. Okay, so we talked about the Bone Grinder. Who else wants to talk about where they would have gone?
Phil's backstory, check. Where we would have gone. Did I have regrets?
This is maybe like less. This is maybe more of a meta regret, but I still don't understand the Oath of the Feathers, or the Keepers of the Feather.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were mentioning how you were dropping Mondo hints towards it, and I just never, as a player, picked it up. And so that must have been like really frustrating. So I'm curious what the hints were and where I went wrong.
So there are bundles of clothing you guys kept finding all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And those were effectively like, and then kind of shortly thereafter, you guys would see like a raven or something in the sky.
Uh-huh.
That was their clothes they left behind, or there'd be a couple raven feathers tucked in there. And they were always watching you guys. They never attacked you. They never did anything hostile. And so it was kind of also another marker to be like, hey, there are some people out there that are going to help you if you could put 2 and 2 together. And for like Tally in particular, they were kind of like the one driving like good force in Barovia. And so I kept trying to make it in ways where like, okay, there's one sitting up there and it's clearly watching Tally, or there's one following you guys on the road, but she's, anytime Tally takes a step to the side, thinks slightly, glides to the side at the same time.
Gotcha. I think given how much we got Barovia'd, no amount of subtlety when out in the wilds would have been treated at face value as a possibly good thing to investigate.
Which 100% understood. And that's one of the things with kind of our setup that I probably have the biggest regrets about, is that over that time frame, there's so much to happen that it's almost a disservice to you guys. Like if it had been played in a shorter period of time, less of that probably would have happened. And so the impact would be a lot harder each time, instead of it being like, okay, here comes the spooky thing again.
We also tended to roll our random encounters in streaks.
Yes. And there was a point, especially after the Wizard of Wines, where I was just like, these things are so afraid of Tally. Like, this isn't even going to happen anymore. Because she could be in the woods by herself and roll that encounter and just be like, okay, look over her shoulder, and everything would be dead.
Yeah.
It wasn't a challenge after a certain point, and it's one of those things where it's less fun if you keep doing that. Every once in a while, it was fun to drop it back in, where it was like, oh, you see some twig blights in the woods, and they immediately leave because they see Tally standing there. Okay, so right, questions about where you would have gone. Who's up? Who wants to say theirs? Where you wish you had gone?
If
explore an area a different way.
If we hadn't abruptly kind of like gotten a deadline, I think that I would have tried to wrangle a couple more sessions in Argynvost Hold. Because at the very least, I would have liked to explore more about the bones and the beacon, and maybe take another crack at killing what's his name, and like taking over his army to lead against
Lord
Strahd.
Horngard.
Yeah, Lord Horngard. So
Argynvost, you both solved Argynvost Hold, and you did not. So there is the the room you guys teleported up into, Skirpin in August. It was the one time I was 100% sure. I was like, this is a gimme. The guy that can cast Detect Magic at Will is going to detect magic at will and crack this in a second. And then it didn't happen, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, moving on. It's one of those, like, being a DM, you expect the players to do something, and then they do the exact opposite. It was the perfect example of that. So in that room, there's a picture that's got a slash through it, and it if you detect magic on it, it basically gives you all the information where it's like, hey, this could be repaired magically. You repair it magically, and then it gives you the other hint, hey, if you get my skull back here, I will activate this power and basically impart upon you the might of Argynvost. So the skull, which you guys did find in the bone room, the ossuary, and this goes to another thing that I'll get to in a second. The idea is that you get in the castle, you find all these hints about Argynvost's basically final rest being disturbed. You get the skull back, it activates this beacon, and for the entire rest of the campaign, you have a static bonus to saves, which is, I don't remember how much. But the idea is that, it has imparted the entire land with some holy energy, and so everybody's looking to Argynvost as this beacon in the darkness against Strahd. As for Horngard himself, he is 98% as I ran him, which is to say he wants Strahd to suffer for all eternity. And there isn't much you can do to stop that. But the one thing you can do to stop that is 2 rooms away from where you guys were. There is another Revenant, Sir Geoffrey something. Let me get to that page real quick. Basically, it was Horngard's boyfriend. And he remembers. His mind isn't as gone as all the rest of the Revenants are. And he pretty much just needs something to spur him to action, to get everything back. And if you manage to get him on your side, he's also one of the people that can be your ally. It's Sir Godfrey Gwillem. If you get him to be, on your side, whether he's your card drawn ally or otherwise, you convince him that, hey, you guys are going to be stuck like this for all eternity. He basically snaps Horngard out of it and tells him, you've forgotten your oaths. We're supposed to be, the light against the darkness. This is not who we are. And then he pretty much rouses the Revenants to action, or helps them, see that their oaths have been fulfilled to the best of their ability, and they pass on. As for Horngard himself, it is possible to beat him, and his sword is a +2 greatsword that does an additional 46 points of damage against Strahd specifically. The barbarian in the last game managed to, I'm not going to say defeat him in single combat. It was more like the rest of the party cheated and then he defeated him in single combat and ran around with what they called the Strahd for the rest of the campaign. Like, he showed me on the piece of paper, he drew like 6 U's, all of them had umlauts over them. He's like, I want to be pronounced exactly like this every time references. Okay, got it. And so he had that. And so as soon as, they got to the castle, he's like, Strahd, and started just like busting through doors looking for him so he could stab with the sword. That guy was crazy though.
Okay.
So that's Argynvost. You guys, you did it. It just wasn't, you didn't finish the last connecting bit. The other point of that, which I said I'd get to in a second, is the game does expect you guys to go back to the castle multiple times.
That's what I was getting the impression of.
It's kind of this thing where I don't know if I did too much of it or what. Like, the players are supposed to be afraid of the castle, but at the same time, they're also not supposed to have a choice. All roads will eventually lead back there. And so as you get back there, you kind of, each time you get further and further in, or find, a place to hide in there that's safe, so you can actually spend a little bit more time exploring and finding the secrets and, kind of dismantling the curse of Strahd from the inside out. The skull is one of those things where it's, you get in there,
Where
you
was
get
the
into
skull?
the ossuary. It was in the bone room where
With all the
Floki,
like,
where Floki's final fight was with him.
Gotcha.
We were just supposed to sneak a dragon skull out of the
And
castle.
see, that
Under a
part's
cloak.
that part's one of the silly things. We're like, yeah, they're supposed to totally sneak out of the castle with a 250-pound dragon skull.
I mean, if
Um,
somebody had enlarge reduce, they could
Yeah.
shrink it down to like 25 pounds.
Could you dim door it?
Probably, if you can carry.
And you carry
that much
250 pounds.
Yeah.
All you have to do is
Muscle
like
lizard.
get a little bit off the ground, like lift it, and you're like, oh, carrot.
What we should
Yeah.
have done is we should have had Moose. I should have given the necklace to August. Had Moose learn Dimension Door.
Oh, spell stirring on that would have been insane.
He would need 2, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a good reason to start using it, but God, that is a huge power of those
Oh,
creatures.
absolutely.
Does it only store the spell of whoever's wearing the amulet?
Yes, but you can then put the amulet
Pass
on
it
someone
on.
else, and it keeps
Oh.
the and
Yeah.
it's not attuned from what
Yeah,
I
it's
can
I
tell.
could've
basically who owns it.
I could have given Moose a tactical nuke
I could have had you put Spirit Guardians on him.
Oh my god.
or holy weapon, so that if you're
Oh.
by Moose, you just
Yeah.
See, there's a lot of times where I'm just like, I was really glad that you didn't like put the moose nuke out on the table, because then I was gonna have to put the nuke out on the table.
I tried not to overuse it because
But at the same time, like I was also waiting for it, because it's like I gave you a shield guardian. I'm waiting for it. So I did appreciate that. I'll say, like, you guys all played in those kind of sorts of things really well. Kind of respecting the medium and the territory and everything. So that was I really appreciated that from you guys.
There's only one place on the map that I'm looking at that I don't know what's there.
Is that
And
you?
that would be you.
You is Berez, specifically the ruins of Berez.
Did we ever hear that name?
There was one name. It wasn't even a name drop. It was basically a very small pointer. You really only get there if you investigate that, and you have to have a player just be like, "Oh, that sounds neat. I want to know more about that," or you have to get a card draw that takes you there.
Ah.
Those are kind of the ways to do it. Tell me, you are familiar with like Baba Yaga?
In the most vaguest sense, yeah.
So Baba Lysaga is at. I'm saying that wrong. Baba Lysaga. No, that's right. She lives at Berez, and she has a creeping hut, and there's a possibility for a treasure being there.
Sorry,
And,
creepy or creeping?
creeping.
As in it moves around?
Uh-huh.
Ah.
So you can basically end up fighting Baba Lysaga, which is Baba Yaga is from, I think it's Russian mythology.
Some
Some
Slavic.
sort of
Correct.
Slavic.
Yes, Russian.
And she is, I was like, one half. No, that's the witch. So she's a CR 11, and you can get there really, really early if you want to. She's also like kind of weirdly protective of Strahd in a lot of ways. So if you end up crossing her, it's not a good thing. So the mongrel folk again, Cyrus, he actually has a necklace on that's a hag's eye, and it's Baba Lysaga's hag's eye. So she's constantly watching Strahd to make sure that he's okay.
Huh.
That place is also where the final battle between Argynvost and Strahd took place. So when you end up down there, you kind of get a vision of this grand battle and this great silver dragon flying overhead before he just gets hit with this massive bolt of necrotic energy and comes crashing down, and kind of watching the army of Argynvost fall apart in front of your eyes. It's a cool place, but it's one of those things that there's not a lot of reason to go there unless you have a reason to go there.
She has an 8th level spell slot.
That's because
I
she's
just looked at her stat block.
she's like a hag, effectively.
Jesus. Okay.
I was typing for a minute there. What location are we talking about?
Berez.
It's
You.
Perez. It's you on the
Thank you.
on the.
It's
the
south of
Oh,
Argynvost.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. Great. Okay. That's when you were talking about Argynvost. Okay.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you.
So, yeah.
Did you say that we could have gotten control of the running house, the chicken leg house?
No, it ends up fighting you.
Hmm.
That was almost the second TPK for the
Well,
other group.
what about Charm Monster?
Maybe.
Like, could
Charm
we have
House?
taken it over and then ridden around in like a mech suit for the entire thing?
It's not outside the realm of possibilities. Probably.
But it's
We
outside
would
the
see what would
possibility.
happen. Babala Saga is a 16th level spellcaster.
Okay.
Speaking of speaking of things that with the potential to break the campaign,
Hmm.
bringing Argynvost back to life using the skull and the raised dead thing that.
So
Whoa.
that everything you got from the temple was a trap.
Okay.
100%. That was always going in some way or another. It would have boomeranged on you. So once that had come up, I you know that scene in The Grinch when he starts grinning like really, really widely and gets that evil. You guys would end up fighting a Draco Lich had you done that.
So
I wanted to do it.
Well, and
It would have been a Draco Lich that was at war with himself, effectively.
so like
It
when
wouldn't have been a
Gideon
straightforward fight.
tried to cash in at the end to resurrect what's her name?
Irina.
Irina. That also was basically going wrong.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost mean because like the whole time he had this hope, like I'm gonna bring Squirrel back.
Yeah.
So what would happen? What would you have done if he tried to bring Squirrel back?
He would have been perfectly fine until the first night at camp, and then people would have basically woken up with him standing over Gideon, either tearing his throat out or stabbing him repeatedly or something horrifying.
Perfect. What about grabbing Strahd and then declaring that the Dark Powers need to bring Strahd back to life?
That would have been. I don't know if I had a contingency for that.
I started trying to think of like okay, I made this open-ended deal. How do I ruin everything with it? And
if I had to, off the top of my head, just come with something right now, it probably would have been like, okay, fine, and then he comes back up as Strahd, fully healed and probably some tempies or something, and empowered by the dark powers of Barovia, to be like, okay, you said you wanted him back.
Can we make him not undead by?
Yeah. That's the that's the gimme or the gotcha in here, is that it's always the dark powers are always playing a game.
Oh. Okay. I feel like I'm asking most of the questions. So.
Oh no. Okay. Was there? I'm going to keep coming back to this, but this should hopefully the last time. Was there a horde?
No, there was not.
Oh my god! My whole life is a lie.
The best thing in Argynvost is his greatsword, and there's a shield that's basically like emblazoned with the crest of Argynvost that I think acts as like a +1 shield of Sentinel Shield, I think is what it is.
Ooh,
Oh, the one magic item I could actually use.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's another thing that's hard about this, is that there are no, other than kind of like the special items, and there's that +1 short sword you found and the blood spear, which even the blood spear is a little questionable on if you end up with or even see it. There's basically no magic gear in this entire campaign. They expect that Strahd has basically taken it all, consolidated it, because he doesn't want upstart adventurers trying to come after him. Same with silver not being present. They're like, a lot of my minions are allergic to silver. Guess what? There's no silver in Barovia.
Yeah.
So like, how do you think they would plan to balance that if a party was primarily like
martial.
melee user, like martial users, or people who couldn't use like some of these like magic items required you either get them at you're supposed like the Sun Sword you're supposed to get like near the end. It sounds like,
So
and like not everybody is going to be great with necessarily like a spear or
mhm. So the Sun Sword is specifically like it's a long sword, but it counts as a short sword to make sure that almost everybody has proficiency with it. So I think even
Mhm.
monks have longsword proficiency or short sword proficiency.
I think that's right.
So there's that part of it kind of baked in. Now, in terms of like, does it tell you like, hey, if you end up with a whole campaign of marshals, what do you do? No, it doesn't. It doesn't really account for that. There's kind of, I think, this understanding that like, hey, you're playing a vampire campaign, you probably want a cleric or a paladin. Had
The game
I run
around
into that,
TPKs anyway, though. Like,
yeah,
it's
I
just a
mean,
matter
it's
if you come in with all marshals as a group, you get TPK'd, you learn. Come in with something better next time.
I guess it's one of those things where it's sort of like I don't find D&D 5e to be particularly a cutthroat style of game.
yeah,
And so
this is
it's
one of
already
those.
it's like already one where like casters are incredibly overpowered most of the time compared to their martial counterparts. So it was more of a like question around like is this? It felt like the adventure sort of exacerbated that a little bit to some degree.
This is 5e's meat grinder. Like and I've played actually Elemental Evil is really hard. I think I went through 3 or 4 characters in that. But this one, it's a hard campaign. It really is. You guys, your card draw was good enough. You guys had a pretty good party composition for most of the campaign, where you got through the things that would have murdered like a full martial group or even a primarily martial group.
Give me that werewolf swarm. Like,
yeah, well, and that's like especially at the beginning of the game, like werewolves are way more dangerous to you guys. Really, you guys got lucky with a lot of con saves too. There was, I mean, really Gideon's was the only real fail on that. If it were up to me, I probably would have. If we had that problem, I would have done something. Probably something heinous, like offering a dark gift of some kind. You would have run into Lord Vasali, which there's only a couple references to Lord Vasali throughout the entire campaign, but that's basically Strahd's like nobleman disguise. So like when he was walking around Vallaki, nobody would know who he was. I would have probably had something like, hey, there's this nobleman named Vasali, and he wants to help you guys because you're going to overthrow Strahd. He's giving you, access to his personal armory. Guess what? You're all marshals. You don't understand what a cursed weapon is. It's still magic.
To change the subject completely,
yeah,
Fair enough.
Irina's brother
Ismark.
is Mark. What was the deal? No, not Ismark. The other guy that was like sister as we killed him.
Not Ismark.
The one with the red right hand.
Ezek.
Ezek.
So Ezek is actually Irina's brother. So the story goes that Lake Zarovich, a long time ago, the brother and the sister and their father were at the lake, and they were set upon by wolves. The dad fell in the fighting, and the brother tried to protect the sister. The brother lost his arm to a wolf and basically passed out and didn't remember anything of that. So all he had, because of how young he was just kind of these fleeting visions of this sister that he had that kind of lost to time. He just assumed she was dead. And one day he was, let me go find the actual text for this because I'm gonna paraphrase it too poorly. In the meantime, for that, he kept going back to the toy maker because he had these visions of this woman he couldn't get out of his head. And so he's like, no, not like that, and like that, like this, and that's when you end up with all these dolls of Irina at the toy maker shop, because he was trying to get them, figure out who this person was, which is why when he sees her for the first time in Vallaki, he basically loses his mind. because he's like, that's her. And so it comes across really, really creepily, but the whole point is that he's obsessed with this idea of protecting her from literally everything. Okay, here we go. Isaac and his sister were born in Vallaki. One morning, their father, and their uncle, took them fishing on Lake Zarovich. On the way back to town, dire wolves attacked Isaac and bit off his right arm. His father carried him back to town while his uncle distracted the beast. His sister ran and hid in the woods and was never seen again. Unlike his sister, Isaac was born without a soul. As time wore on, he forgot his sister and learned to cope with his disability. Isaac's parents succumbed to their grief, leaving him an orphan. He became a sociopath. Other children mocked him relentlessly because of his dead family and his missing arm. But he was a large boy and had no trouble killing them and disposing of their bodies.
God.
He was eventually caught in the act and brought to the Burgomeister. Instead of punishing the boy for his crimes, Baron Valukovich pardoned Isaac and took him into his home. Isaac has been loyal to the Burgomaster ever since, enjoying the power of his position and the comforts of the master's mansion. When he isn't enforcing the Burgomeister's will, he drinks copious amounts of wine. After years of doing Baron Valukovich's dirty work, Isaac awakened from a drunken stupor one morning to find that he had grown a new arm to replace the one he had lost. The new appendage has barbed spines, elongated fingers, and long nails. He can create a fire with the snap of his fiendish fingers, and has used the flames to put the fear of the devil into every Wallachian. And then the heading of this one is Family is Forever. Isaac has dreams of Irina. If he spots her, he tries to take her by force to the Burgomeister's mansion. If he succeeds, he holds her captive in his bedroom. Unknown to Isaac and Irina, they are brother and sister. Irina fled after Isaac was attacked by the direwolf and became lost in the woods. She wandered for days in shock until she was found and adopted by Kolyan Indirovich in the village of Borovia. Isaac covets her in an unwholesome way and won't allow anyone to come between them. It just after all of those years, it twisted his mind, and that's kind of how that happened there.
So he was supposed to be a legit like mini boss that we just snuck into the room of and murdered in his sleep.
Yeah. Which is how you guys did a lot of things.
To
So-
be fair,
It's
He
starting to
deserves
sound like the real horrors of Borovia were us.
I
Yeah.
told you several times we were the scariest things walking through the woods.
We just showed up at like those werewolves clubhouse and just murdered them all. Like,
That's one of the things where you have this open world where you can literally from out of the gate go wherever you want. That place is scary until you're level 5 or 6, in which case it's like, okay, they're just wolves and werewolves, but even then their stat blocks aren't super
Once you
impressive.
get fireball,
Yeah, you
Firewall.
start dropping fire everywhere.
Moose in the rage cage. Like,
Yeah, right.
oh,
I
man.
almost really would love to see us have seen us all. I don't know. I guess we were that was basically the only fight we all went 100% on.
Mm-hmm.
And almost every battle, one of us would be distracted doing another activity or fighting
Protecting
in an
kilt
inefficient
or
way, or
yeah.
yeah. That's the one where we're all just like, okay, everyone unload.
All right, what else you guys got for me?
What was, maybe you want to think for a second, but do you remember any time when there was like a really near miss where it was like either good or bad, where ships in the night and we almost either got killed or got something insane and we never really realized it?
Argenvost, when you guys were in that room, I was just like, there's no way he doesn't do this. There's no way he doesn't do this. And then that happened. So that was one. I really like the coffin maker thing. At first, I was really like this one kind of qualifies, even you guys triggered it. I was like, there's no way this is all gonna like they're gonna get in there, they're gonna start looking, and then the two thieves started getting like, oh yeah, okay, there's these big boxes in here, and I was like, oh no. So there was that. Kresk, honestly, I think I was a little bit surprised you guys didn't do more with Kresk.
I
'Cause there's-
suggested it about 18 times.
Yeah, you did. There's a lot there, and like the whole wedding dress thing adds kind of this other dimension to like Strahd really wanting a bride. He doesn't go for it at all. The main reason I bring that up is because the abbot is actually an angel, and really the only way that you have of proper resurrection that isn't trapped in some way.
Huh.
So that whole we got the feeling he was gonna try to use Irina's soul thing maybe was unfounded.
He was it was properly founded. Like that's the other part of it, is that while he is a force of good, like everything else in Barovia, he's just a little bit twisted. He would have sacrificed Irina for the greater good.
The greater good. Sorry.
No, that was perfect.
Um,
And getting you guys to the castle a second time was I thought I had dropped enough hints that Emil was probably in the castle from
yeah.
Zulika, that would have gotten you guys there, if for no other reason to like save the rest of the children. And then it kind of and then like the time limit and stuff kind of popped up, and I think things changed a bit after that point.
Considering how we left the castle the first time around, I was under no impression that there'd be any chance of escaping the castle a second time.
I feel like that actually might have. I don't know. In hindsight, I almost kind of wish we'd talked about it in a meta way, where you were just like, "Look, you guys are a little more afraid of the castle than you need to be."
And it crossed my mind a couple times, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to force your hand. I wanted it to be organic.
I want to say that you definitely did say that a couple times, and at least for me, the reaction was like, like, you very, very much said like you guys should go to the castle, like, and I just couldn't figure out how to go to the castle without kind of dying.
That's
Like,
fair.
I couldn't see. I was very afraid of the castle.
Which is, like I said, it's both it's a great thing, and it's a bad thing at the same time. Oh, you also missed was it the instrument of the bards? I think it was in the
What?
castle.
No.
Or it was a lute of, wasn't the instrument of the bards, what was it?
Poor Kilt.
Instrument of the bards are insane.
I think it was a lute of building or something, and I was like, man, if they get this, Kilt is gonna be set for life. And then that got missed. That was also in one of the upper levels.
What does Instrument of the Bard mean?
It's a magic item.
Their
Instrument of the bards
oh,
is under magic items, so yes, it was Instrument of the Bards.
I don't think it was, though. Let me double check. It was in the... Oh, you also missed Leaf, which was another kind of let Tally go upstairs, and hopefully she doesn't go all the way upstairs thing. He's an accountant, just a straight up human accountant that Strahd has chained to a desk. And he actually could give you guys with the proper motivation a lot of information about the castle. Where is
Wrap? An Instrument of the Bards has a whole bunch of spells that can be cast from it per day, only by bards. And like even the basic version of them are powerful.
Oh, gotcha.
And there's like 5 different kinds of them. The most common of it lets you do like fly, levitate, invisibility, protection from good and evil, and 3 other first level spells.
Well,
and
shit.
it forces disadvantage on
According to
charm
the handout,
spells.
all of them give fly, invisibility, levitate, protection from evil, and good. And then depending on what instrument it is, adds more spells.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is straight up. It's specifically in this campaign called a DOS loot, but it is an instrument
Oh,
of bards.
boo.
Which comes with
Yeah, I know,
animal
right?
friendship, protection from energy, protection from poison, as well as fly, invisibility, levitate, protection from evil and good.
I wanted more than anything for Kilt to get that. It just didn't happen.
it's very powerful. Also, it gives disadvantage on charm saves to anybody that the bard targets, so they can
Oof.
charm people much
Okay.
easier.
That's
I'm-
pretty.
I said it before, but I was fully ready to take Kilt over as my second character to scurp everyone down.
Yeah,
And
let's
he
talk
could
about.
have.
Oh,
He wasn't invincible.
now
So.
we don't need to ask this question of Zeb because he got to live it. But did anybody else have alternate character ideas if their character had gone down?
Oh man, Kilt. So
Wait, so that was called out. To be fair, I had no other concepts written up until one died, and then I would brainstorm with the DM. And between that session I died until the next, there was nothing on the back burner ever.
the furthest I got was Kilt, and his bardic performance was going to be mostly pathetic crying.
I didn't have one on the back burner, but thinking about it just off the cuff, some ideas. I think perhaps playing as one of the blood spears might have been kind of an interesting thing.
That would have been cool.
Like
Like
a
a
captain of the
barbarian.
like a captain of the blood spears or something. Yeah. I think playing as one of the Oath of the Ravens, as a
Keeper
some
of the
sort of
feather.
druid. Yeah. Possibly somebody related to the werewolves. Have to figure out the right way to flavor that, but maybe as a druid.
I had kind of very roughly sketched out a Sun Soul monk that I thought would play well off of Tally.
Hmm.
That's kind of an opposite, but
Sun and Moon.
yeah, exactly. Someone specifically designed to maybe even rub Tally the wrong way,
Yeah.
That's like Tally. Okay, so I felt like there were so many things that I was trying to force on Tally. Like at a certain point, my goal became like I was so frustrated. I was like, I'm going to corrupt her by the end of this campaign. She's going to fall so damn hard. And like you just wouldn't give into it. And so I was like simultaneously so mad at you and so proud of you that like you're like the one character that came out of this with without any scars on your soul.
The one thing I was thinking about in terms of like as a fall, like if there was for some reason, like if the only way to get rid of Strahd was for I'm blanking on what an allegory of this would be.
like the Lich King in
Yeah,
World of
exactly.
Warcraft.
If the only way for Strahd's reign to end would be for somebody to take his place, like Tally would be like first in line and be like, "Yeah, I can fucking do better." Like, and then that would probably be her downfall because the power, I would imagine, just fucks over whoever is there no matter what. But
So on that point, like there must always be a jailer of the damned.
Mm.
I kind of wrote myself into a corner on accident because I was like fighting myself at the same time. Like if I had had somebody else on the other side that I was like rolling against, I think would have happened differently. So the fight with Floki, like before you guys got to the castle,
Yeah.
it wasn't supposed to end kind of the way that it did. It was almost like bloodlust on my side. I was like, no, like he's got all this power. He's gonna prove that he has all this power. Like I got too much kind of in his mindset. It's like, so I'm gonna make these guys pay. They will understand that they hurt their friends' feelings. He's gonna make them hurt. And I blew through just way too much of his power trying to prove that point.
Mm.
So I really did that to myself because the idea of Floki was he was going to do that, hold some of it back and be like, okay, I can actually do this and go try to overthrow Strahd, which he's just twisted enough where he thought that anyway. Went in there, and he had kind of his own card reading where to find Strahd, which ended up being the bone room, which was just too perfect given kind of his. I don't think you actually knew this part or not, but he had to eat either a pound of grave dirt or a pound of ground bone every morning at dawn, or he would die.
I feel
It
like
was-
we got a hint of that because you told him that the bones looked really tasty or something.
Yeah, and there was one other fight. Like the first time you guys saw him again, there was like this lightning bolt that came down from the sky, and there's all these skeletons. You guys were in Valaki, and he dropped down on top of one of the skeletons and just basically started gnawing on it. It was one of the Strahd fights.
Yeah, see that I just took
Yeah,
to
I
be like
remember.
ambient creepiness, you know.
I mean, it was, but it was also kind of this hint that there was something wrong with him. And so, like, if he had,
that one.
you know, this bone room would have basically been like his seat of power. But by the time he got there, he was going to do exactly that. You know, I'm better than Strahd. I can do it better than Strahd, even though it was the Dark Powers whispering in his ear the whole time that, hey, you're better than Strahd. You can do better than Strahd, to kind of force it. And you know, like I said, he had blown way too much of his power on you guys because he'd expected that Strahd would overpower him at least once and be able to, you know, I got you now, and kind of pop up behind him and stab him, type thing. And it didn't work out, and so I kind of had him die as a sort of, you know, failed experiment, and this ironic, he wanted to be a savior the whole time, even though he was going about it the wrong way. He was so caught up on like the friend thing, especially, you know, not as much with Tally, but with the other two, about how it had gone so wrong, that it was like, okay, I'll show them, I'll do this, then they won't have any reason to fight anymore. Then, yeah, it all just kind of blew up from there.
I don't know. I enjoyed it. And circling back to the everyone gets scars on their souls thing, I desperately wanted something like that to happen with Gideon. I felt like he was primed for it from the moment Squirrel died. So focusing on murdering a guy who was also a victim in his own way was one of my, you know, I enjoyed that a lot as a player.
Man, that was very different than I expected. It's just kind of like open the door, and the women, the children, boom, boom, and then close the door.
Essentially, yeah.
Like, you know, the professional style.
The werewolf man was somewhat of a collective scar, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely there, because that's, unless you
kind of
go out of your way to cure it, it's not going to be, you know, that's going to be there. You're going to struggle with that for forever.
Also killing all the whole werewolves.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of us being
That was
like
kind of our
an active
Tuscan Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no.
Not just the men, but the women and children
People
too.
gonna die.
Wiped out an entire clan.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to remember where exactly it was, and I'm looking at the list of magic items. There was a manual of bodily health in there that you guys walked by, or very close to. I'm trying to remember exactly where it was.
There was a book in the Amber Temple that I think Floki ended up taking, that you said only Tally and Floki could read. And I got the feeling I got like a stat enhancement book, like feeling off of it just from the way you described it.
That might have actually been it.
And I think Floki ended up taking it.
What a piece of shit.
Now I have to go look that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna open up the Amber Temple, and it was
That
in one of the
place
left
is-
side rooms in like a chest.
That place is a nightmare. The Amber Temple. It is meant to chew up parties and spit them out. You guys did really well in there, quite honestly.
Did you tell me
I mean,
that there was a piece we missed or something that didn't happen?
In the Amber Temple? Yes. So Rahadin, specifically.
Oh god, was it manual of bodily health?
Yeah.
You study it for 48 hours, your constitution permanently goes up by 2? Whoop.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
oh, I didn't mean to pop it up for everyone. I was trying to pop it out for me.
It's all good.
Because you can search it
Um,
if you make it its own window.
Oh,
So I kind of modified there's a spell book in there that was it was both the incantations of H. It was both a name drop, and there's literally another spell book in there that is the incants of Exanther, which is the Lich's spell book.
Mm.
So I kind of combined those two together.
did we go to
Yeah,
X9?
There's also
you
a
go to
tome.
where?
X9 looks like a chapel or
X.
on the right side.
Going to yeah, that's
Yeah.
where the guy with imp was that had the shield golem amulet.
Okay. Oh,
That was one of the first rooms you guys ended up in.
Oh yeah, I wanted that book so bad. I wanted that necklace so bad, and then it turned out to be even better than I expected.
Yep.
did I mention? I feel like I did that. Like, it's stupid, but Shield Guardian is a real like emotional, well, not like nostalgic thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like I think I was like 12 when I saw the picture in the third ed books, and I was like, I want one, and it finally happened.
Oh, and it happened to
Fine.
someone else.
It's okay. It's like just that I was there for it. I'm okay with that. Like,
With Xanther with you, you got to sidestep a lot of there's a death slot in there and stuff that he basically walked around with you guys. So, anyways, what Greg was talking about is so Rahadin, the Strahd's manservant chamber dude. He is there praying, or he should have been there praying. And I don't remember what happened, but for some reason I just completely blew past it, or I was busy and glazed over it or something. But there's that giant statue at X5A, and he's basically there praying for power, because he wants to restore. Let me actually get to the actual his little snippet has the stuff about it. So Rahadin, his is it his wife or his sister?
Oh, a tome of understanding. Is that the item?
Yeah. So there was another dusk elf named Patrina Villicomba, and she tried to seduce Strahd effectively for power. And she told Strahd about the Ember Temple.
Oh shit.
So there was that part of it, and so there's this kind of this guilt part of it. And so she having gained some power from there, tried to kind of insert herself in everything. And so Rahadin ends up going there to kind of find a way to deal with her, because she is also one of the things that's at the castle you might have to deal with at one point. Because she's effectively, I think she's either a banshee or she's a vampire, like a full-blown vampire on her own right. So he's there trying to basically get more power to deal with it. And what you can do is take him to, once you figure out where the sarcophagi are, take him to the one that will help him deal with her, which I think it might be the resurrection one. Because his idea is that, hey, I'm going to bring Tatiana back, and then she'll go away, and this is all, to protect Strahd. So there's that. Anyway, there's this whole kind of section on that. I think it's called Rahadin's Prayer that I sadly missed. And it sucked because it was cool character development for Rahadin, other than just kind of this random dude that you run into in the temple every once in a while, or at the castle. So there was that. That was one of the other things that I missed. That I was not happy
Sorry for
about.
the spam.
I
just heard it chirping in somebody's.
Nice.
Nice.
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
Oh, like the singles. Those are cool.
Yep, that was part of the deal. Was
oh man, Loki's is so cool.
I almost feel like we should be making like Avengers style individual character posters like from Endgame.
Yeah, I know.
I swear by everything that my next character in any campaign will be killed.
That's excellent.
It is awesome.
And I'm glad to have character art for him already.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna go through magic items and pick out ones I wish I'd seen.
I'm gonna throw this in here as well. I lost my.
So the icon on Ravenloft is one of the things that's listed in there. If you guys had stayed on the main level in Castle Ravenloft, there's a chapel. And you go in there and there are two things there. There's a Mace of Terror and an icon of Ravenloft. So the story goes, and let me see if it's actually in here. It's not. So the story of the chapel is, there's this icon. I'll flash it out there. It's 12 inches tall, made of pure silver. And it's effectively casts protection from good and evil, but it can only be used by a good aligned, I think, cleric or paladin. The idea is that this is kind of the thing that lets you rest in the castle, because you guys can stay around it in the chapel and be safe. In there, there's a body, and nearby that body is the Mace of Terror, because an evil cleric went in there, basically trying to loot power from Strahd, and saw it and tried to pick it up, and it struck him down. And so on him, he had the Mace of Terror, which is a magic mace.
I'm gonna read that right now. Oh, geez.
It's not. It looks cool. It's not super great. It's more that you can make things be afraid of you. But it's still pretty cool in its own right.
Where the heck was that belt of giant strength?
There wasn't. A couple. Some of the things in here just are generic 5e magic items that are listed.
Oh.
So like if you scroll through the list, like +1 ammunition, +1 armor, bag of tricks. None of those are in here. There's no cloak of protection. There's no ring of evasion. There's no mind shield ring.
Luck blade.
Luck blade. Don't those let you cast wish?
1d4 minus 1 times. Which I guess technically could be 0.
That wasn't in there. St. Markovius thigh bone. You guys did.
That wasn't in there.
It was actually. So there was one of the catacomb tombs that was St. Markovius' tomb that Gideon triggered the trap in front of. If you had gone in there, his ghost would have appeared and said, here is some power, please take it. And then you get his thigh bone, which acts as a mace of disruption.
Sorry, did you say the Broom of Flying was or wasn't in there?
It is, because there are several witches in this campaign that you guys didn't really come upon. Hags, yes. Also witches.
That would have been thematically amazing.
Let me see here. Where is... Because I want to find the exact text about the guy in the chapel.
Apparently the luck blade is in the game, but it's hidden in one of the very many crypts. So it's just almost impossible to find.
So the statuette on the altar is called the Icon of Ravenloft. Any evil creature that touches it must make a DC 72 Constitution save or take 16 D10 radiant damage on a failed save. Gustav, which is the evil cleric that failed it, but he went to try to loot it. He failed to save, and he died.
Ain't that a
As a
shame?
result. He also had a very handsome fur-lined black cloak, worth 250 gold pieces.
So if we just started cracking into those tombs, like how risky was that?
Extremely. There's a banshee. There's a couple vampire spawn. There's 15 whites. There's some dire wolves. There's some wolf spiders.
There's some dire wolves just in the tombs down there.
There's Strahd's horse. His nightmare has a tomb in there.
Bad horse.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's bad.
The thoroughbred of sin.
He rides across the nation.
Oh my
Did
god.
he get our application? Much?
The one we just sent in? Yeah, he got it.
Beautiful. Let me see. I'm gonna go flip to that page now.
Shit, can we fight Bad Horse? Like, is that a...
He votes nay.
He does vote nay. It's actually
Keep him
one
out.
of the tombs that's nearest Strahd's actual thing. Bucephalus is Strahd's steed. It has 104 hit points. If the creatures slay it, Strahd hunts them down mercilessly.
Oh god, Gideon could one round that guy.
God, you don't want to fight a nightmare though. Those things are a nightmare.
Yeah. It's not just a clever
Yeah.
name.
They can literally phase you in and out of the ethereal realm, so they can just like disappear and then come back with 4 friends.
3 hellhounds and a wraith, 6 ghouls, an imp,
Turtle doves.
phantom warriors. Let me see what else. Giant wolf spiders. I think I
Oh.
mentioned.
I actually want to go look. What page? Like map
Oh, yeah.
page
Vampire spawn. What do you want to look at?
for the crypts. What map page
Oh.
is that?
It is map 12, I believe. Yeah, map 12.
Okay.
Okay.
So it says
Because I'm-
Ravenloft map 12 on it.
I marked a bunch of ones that I was like, oh, I really want to look at these.
Oh yeah, we can go through this. Oh, the time traveler. Let me pull that one up right now.
Whoops, I didn't mean to like, literally draw on the map right now. But oh yeah, the time traveler.
King Katsky. Katsky the Bright, ruler, inventor, and self-proclaimed time traveler. So had you open this, a skeleton draped in rags lies atop a marble slab in the center of the crypt. Lying amid the bones is a stoppered drinking horn, a fat pouch, a weird-looking scepter made of metal and wood. Above the bones, hanging from the dome ceiling by wires, is a wooden flying contraption that looks like a set of folding dragon wings fitted with leather straps, metal buckles, and taut leather wing flaps.
Oh god, is it literally like Icarus's wings?
Glider. Any small or medium creature can wear the dragon wing glider. It takes 1 minute to don it off. It can't support more than 80 pounds, although that's not evident. A character who inspects the glider can attempt to discern its maximum weight. If you're light enough, the apparatus can be used to glide, but only in a wide open space when there is room to maneuver. You can become airborne by stepping or jumping off a high place, performing a high jump to take off from level ground. You gain a fly speed equal to your walking speed while aloft. With the limitations, you can't use the glider to gain altitude, and the glider descends at 1 foot for every 10 feet of horizontal distance covered.
That's kind of useful.
That's basically the only thing that's in there. Number 10 was circled. Lord Leonid Krushkin, Sir Lee the Crusher. All that was in there was necklaces. 750 gold pieces apiece. 3 necklaces.
Why did I mark it as interesting?
I have no idea.
I just checked
There's
on the
There's a
the wizard
ghost.
with an air.
Yeah.
If we flip the staff around, we
Mhm.
would have got slapped for like 20.
Lightning bolts.
Oh,
I
Which
don't know if there's a hint about that. It's just like,
it's just the hint is kind of like marble to marble.
right?
you know, we actually did explore this when I was running it, or when we were in here, I felt like we were skipping a lot, at least even on this floor. But looking at it, we actually went pretty much everywhere.
You guys did, yeah. So you came down at kind of by K, what is that, 73? So there's like the half spiral stair and then all the X's where the traps
Yeah.
were. Basically, you searched all that, and then, I mean, pretty much the only place you can go if you try to go anywhere else here is the crypt area.
Okay.
I feel like we didn't do. I mean, are those just mundane staircases?
Which staircases?
The two other ones off of the portal room.
They're
The
actually mimics.
Well,
Yeah.
we saw that they went up higher than this one, so we're like, we want to stay as low as possible.
So there's the big one, the one that kind of goes up and then hooks and it has the trap in it. All that trap is basically an illusion of Strahd saying to turn back. And kind of it's trying to make you think that you shouldn't be down here, which should make you think that you should be down here.
I like to imagine what scenario led Strahd to do that. Like sometime years ago, Strahd's like, you know what I should put here? Illusion of me. Just in case.
Just a do not enter sign. That'll
it's
stop
like,
them.
go back. But
It's
then,
probably also meant for people coming down the stairs to warn them away from his teleport room.
over like hundreds of years, you got to bet Strahd walks past that thing all the time, and then like pops it and goes,
Every
go
time.
back, and he's like, get out, go
Like
away.
automated doors that just keep opening.
Yeah.
Speaking
Like
of which,
something nearby.
what did those teleport like? Okay, you said there were like
Oh
these
yeah.
things.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
You said they took us
Yes.
to a room full of whites, maybe.
K78.
Right. So those are all basically traps because the room beyond that is Strahd's tomb where his coffin is. So he doesn't want you there. So if you look over here, anytime you step on one of those, it replaces you with one of those creatures. And so you immediately have to fight a white, and then the person that it gets swapped places with is in a coffin that is in a room full of whites. Then it's I think it's like a 35-foot, 5-foot wide, like chimney. Basically, you have to climb up to get out of there.
What does that lead up to?
14.
Oh.
Which the thing for is Stubble in die Bach, a truer friend no ruler ever had. Here lies his family and honor. So quite literally all of his family is down there, which is to say that they are all now serving Strahd for all time. There are 15 whites down there.
Strahd is literally all over this map. That's hilarious.
Mhm.
He's in like every room as I guess just in case your reading is for this spot.
He's either in there for that reason, or if you do something like kill Bucephalus to hunt you down, and yeah.
The duplicate Strahds that Tally encountered, one going up the stairs to Irina's, one being in the room with the rest of the party, were those were more than just a like standalone illusion, right?
So the illusion, the one with everybody else in like the organ room, was the illusion. The one that passed you on the steps was the real one. That's when he was going up to bite Irina.
Oh.
It was. I keep saying Strahd, like I wasn't the one that did it, but it was Strahd did it. The idea was that Strahd flaunted in front of you, "Hey, she's here, safe here. You know, come get her. You can do it. Here you go." And then, as soon as he made sure you saw that, he went and did what he wanted.
The end of Watchmen. I did it 30 minutes ago.
Oh man. Okay.
Sometimes saying that Strahd did this makes me feel like that I'm
not a terrible person.
Way eviler than I mean to be in real life.
No, I understand.
I guess tucking away a hair. I came to understand about Argynvost's bones that there were 8 of them, and that they had been distributed to people in under Strahd's command, and that they had to be reassembled. Did I like imagine that whole thing? Or
I don't remember that. The
Okay.
one
I
thing
remember the distributed among his enemies, but I didn't get the 8 number, and
Yeah.
it never really felt like you needed it all to me.
Okay.
the main thing is the skull, and that's to activate the beacon.
Okay. I honestly I don't know where. I just had
Dragon
that
Ball
in my
Z?
head that there were a whole yeah. You
So,
had to
lighting
bring
the
the
beacon.
dragon, the Dragon Balls. I guess you
Yeah.
go find them.
When the skull of Argynvost is placed in the dragon's mausoleum, the dragon's spirit transforms into a brilliant light that fills the room and flashes across the valley like the beacon of a lighthouse. Even if the tower is cast down, the light of Argynvost remains where it is, flashing in the sky. Although the mountains prevent the beacon's light from reaching Castle Ravenloft directly, Strahd can see the light glow in the sky to the west. The beacon can be seen in Valaki, Kresk, Berez, the old bone grinder, Vendrichten's tower, and the werewolf den. The beacon's light can be felt even by creatures that are blind. The light allows good aligned creatures to experience glimmers of hope and joy, while evil creatures find the light disconcerting. While the beacon shines, characters and other creatures that oppose Strahd gain a +1 bonus to AC and saving throws for as long as they remain in Barovia.
Whoa.
Plus what,
Let-
sorry?
+1 AC and saving throws for as long as you're in Barovia, when that's active. Vladimir Horngard and the other revenants that haunt Barovia see the light as a reminder of all that was once good and noble about the knightly order to which they had once belonged. They let go of their hatred and their corporeal bodies, leaving corpses behind as their spirits find rest at long last. Henceforth, any random encounter with a revenant should be treated as no encounter.
I'm just reading the description of that curtain of energy in the
Mhm.
credits. That's the most like mundane
Right?
answer
the-
for a threatening thing.
What
K87.
Yeah, K87. It's basically a curtain that prevents anyone but lawful good characters from entering.
Oh,
And it does so by just
But-
teleporting you back to the top of the stairs. However, a small creature can squeeze around behind the statues. That's it. That's like there's no pain. Nothing zaps you. You don't like just get teleported into, say, a cave full of, whites.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems off brand for Strahd.
Right?
It's so the motivation behind that is that that's the tomb of his parents. And so he still kind of has this reverence for them as like good and upright people. And so he doesn't do anything like pervert their corpses or raise them as undead or do anything in there. Like that is like one of the pristine rooms in this entire castle. There's stained glass in there. It's also one of the places that you can either find a treasure or fight Strahd. Because if you read a little bit further, it says if your card reading indicates an encounter with Strahd is in this area, he is in a frenzy of rage and despair. So he like goes in there to just agonize and beat himself up.
How does he get in there?
turns into a bat and flies around the statue.
He
That's what it
teleports.
is.
Yeah, or that.
Strahd just has a bat like squeezing behind the statues.
And he
Dignified.
there's a bit in there too, like he basically had gentle repose on his mother's corpse, but it wore off, and so now it's just this.
So what would have
skeleton
happened if I'd
all
brought
over
his
it.
mother back to scold him?
Oh man, I don't even. He probably would have lost his mind and just. He probably would have killed her and then realized he killed her, and then would have come after you and only you.
Strahd has gained Barbarian Rage class.
Yeah.
Every time we come across a corpse, I have to imagine what would have happened if.
And so another piece of the fight that didn't happen, which I am both thankful for and unthankful for. So if you fight Strahd as kind of like the classic vampire, you have to put a stake in his heart. So what happens is he goes mist form, and then his mist, seeps through the castle slowly until it goes back to its coffin. And then after about an hour, he reforms and has 1 hit point left. So what you would have to do normally is go down there, find him, put a stake through his heart to really end the fight. But that does not happen if he's in sunlight. If he's in sunlight, his mist form can't trigger and he's just destroyed. which is what happened in the fight.
We were one round from all of us doing dramatic actions when he died. Like
Really?
Skirp had said he was getting ready to leap off after him. I was I was ready to leap off and try to drag him through the light curtain because he was just floating there. We were all one round away from doing something dramatic to try to end the fight. And it's just funny how it just ended like, I don't know, Eldritch Blast.
Yeah. And that fight can go so many different ways. Especially like Esmeralda really was helping you guys run interference, because otherwise you could have been overwhelmed with vampire spawn or any number of other things that are in the castle.
Oh, man. I wish I'd found a way to bring Moose in. So many
You
fun
mean not
things.
just Kool-Aid Man?
Yeah, exactly.
God, yeah.
But this castle it's the size of, some other campaigns.
Yeah, it's almost half of the maps of the campaign are just the castle. And
It's
we
like a
spent
baby version
2 sessions there.
of Undermountain.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it can be crazy, or it can be, you guys kind of had the perfect storm of finding the way through. Like if Skirp hadn't triggered the organ and found that,
Oh my
I'm
god.
trying to imagine what way you guys would have gone, just because there's so many other directions.
Yeah.
It
I
was such
mean,
a fluke.
we were gonna try to take the whatever path led down in every single,
Mhm.
or whichever one led the least up, if that failed. Which worked out really well, the path we took.
Yeah, it
'Cause
was
literally that was the decision tree. Does this lead down? No.
basically perfect.
If no, does it lead the least up?
There's other NPCs in here, but they're, aside from the accountant, they're all basically vampires waiting to trick you guys in one way or another.
I kind of wish I'd gotten a chance to have a one-on-one fight with Rahadan. He was just, I don't know. Seemed like it'd be fun.
He's pretty
Solo
beefy in
fight.
his own right. He's a CR10.
I could
Oh,
take him.
damn. You can take him.
That was one of the funnier things I can recall is us like setting up for the one-on-one duel between Hornguard and Skirp, and then Hornguard knocks Skirp down to like 1 HP in the first turn.
Oh yeah,
And
he
we're like,
swings like a freight train.
plan cancelled, run away.
I
That
mean,
was... Oh, that hurt.
where's your stat block, Hornguard?
Uh,
I know it's in here somewhere. Rahadin. Hornguard. Your stat block is...
he's down there.
So he's basically a Revenant, so he doesn't have a full one, but AC 17, 192 hit points, plus 9 to hit, 46 plus 6 slashing damage.
46
And
plus 6, and then he does an additional 46 against Strahd.
Yeah.
What a beast.
The Strahd Fuker.
And he, as an action, he makes 2 attacks. So it's okay. Attack 1, attack 2. You just took 8d6 plus 12.
Oh.
So he's pretty beefy.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd do it.
There's a few other things like Piddlewick II, you guys didn't run into at all, who is a little clockwork golem who killed Piddlewick I, of
Where?
which he is based on, in the castle.
Okay.
You either need to find Piddlewick's ghost, or you need to run into Piddlewick himself, Piddlewick II. And then he kind of follows you around like he's going to help you, and then he eventually stabs you in the back.
Wow.
I mean, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did to the first Piddlewick, is he pushed him down a flight of stairs.
What about action figures? Were those?
Those were equal parts me being creepy from just to be creepy, and also just trying to build off of the Ezek and the Dollmaker and stuff.
You
Add
wish
some
they were
flavor to it.
creepy.
Barovian.
Yeah, until you guys made it into
I was trying to collect them all.
turn it into a collection quest.
First goblin on my block to own the full set.
Yep. Some of those are legitimately in there, and I just flavored them. Like the toy gallows is really in there. Other things are like tell you specifically, like, okay, this looks like the first character to pick it up and examine it, or choose a party member at random. This looks like an exact effigy of them. Things along those lines.
Okay. Argonvoth thing.
Trying to think of other things I have questions about. I feel like I
Right,
asked
like-
a whole lot right at the beginning, and
You oddly did not get like any of the random encounters in Castle Ravenloft,
Oh,
oh yeah,
because you have to get an 18 on the dice, and then after that you have to roll on the chart. So that's one of the other ways you can get Piddlewick. It's a way you can get Rahadin. It's a way you can get Esmeralda. It's a way you can get Strahd. It's a way you can get 1d4 plus 1 vampire spawn. Which is a fun fight. Another doll, a toy.
what's up with Roy?
Roy? Okay, so Roy was actually a Knight of Argynvost.
The cool one.
Yeah, he was. I made him a Knight of Argynvost. Let's put it that way. He's just a random encounter to be creepy and kind of like a nod to Sleepy Hollow, Headless Horseman, sort of thing. And the role just kept coming up, and I was like, I gotta do something with this. It's
Roy,
So-
and the cooler Roy.
Yeah. So effectively, I turn it into Roy as kind of the undead messenger of Argynvost, and his curse is to, always be too late with his message, to ward off the ambush that Strahd had for them at Berez. And so when you would see him, he was on his way to go warn Argynvost that, hey, Strahd's totally gonna kill you, and then he got there just in time to watch Argynvost die.
how about the village of Barovia? It
The
was a very detailed village, just as much as Vallaki, really.
Mhm.
And we spent like one session there.
It is there for. It's there to set the tone. It's there to get you Irina and Ismark. And that's pretty much about it.
Okay, so we didn't like just leave too early and then never do any
No,
of the
like
stuff.
that's where the dream pastries thing triggers. So that's there.
The vampire and the
That's there to kind of make you see how horrible of a person Strahd is, because he's turned a priest's son into a vampire. To really drive home the hopelessness, where this holy man is barely holding it together, trying to figure out some way to cure his son, knowing he can't. And it's also kind of the introduction where, so like the barkeeper there just kind of has this blank stare the whole time, and it's a chance to give the players an opportunity to figure out that like Barovians don't always have souls. Like there's something wrong with some of the people that are here, even if you don't necessarily know what that is.
Henrik van der Voort. That is such a name.
Oh, the coffin maker.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't usually have as big of a role as he ended up having.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, but it's one
didn't
of
get
those
focused
things
on
that it's one of those things that just happens when you're playing an RPG. Something happens, the player reacts to it, and it's like, okay, you're a key NPC now. Lady Voctor, She was a lot more evil than you guys really got into. I want to say there was a book in there you guys missed somewhere.
I loved that fight though because Tally's like, "Hey, I'm gonna cast silence," and then we win.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Skirp,
just like,
Skirp,
they,
hold the door.
yeah, they can't leave
the
the
door.
room. They can't cast spells. We win.
That was one of the places you missed Lord Vasali von Holtz, which is Strahd's alter ego, like a reference to it. Basically, it's him thanking thanking her and her family for their fealty over the years.
We did steal a body out of her cupboard.
Yes,
I have a
so
question.
Lord Leo de Silnia, there's actually in this book not much for him. However, there's a book called I Strahd, like an actual novel that prior to my first time running it, I read as sort of research, and it's Strahd's kind of earlier life up through when he comes to Barovia and takes over, and ends with basically him seeing Van Richten sneaking through his castle when he's a vampire, and he's just playing like a cat and mouse game with him, letting Van Richten like learn about him so that he can destroy him later. But Leo de Silnia is like kind of a main character in the book, so I had luckily knew a fair bit about him, and he knew basically everything there was to know about Strahd. His family were allies with Strahd only so far as to one day stab him in the back and gain power for themselves. Basically, Strahd's family had given them a pretty major, slight earlier in life, and so his parents were not super happy with Strahd in general, and so that kind of was broadcast onto the children to, one day your goal will be to, murder this man and bring honor back to our family.
Yeah.
So he was all about helping you, kind of, within the confines of being dead, but that's one of the reasons he was in a lead-lined box. Is Strahd knew how dangerous his knowledge was, which is also cool because that's in there as a nod to other material, even though there's not really anything else in the book about it past that.
We talked about this a little bit. The lady with the first Ravenloft stuff.
Yeah,
I'm blanking on
Tracy
her
something.
name.
I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
I can look it up real quick though.
The original main character was a different vampire that
Tracy
was
Hickman.
like. Oh, I was thinking of Christy. No, I lost it. That doesn't matter. Anyway, there's a vampire that's got a whole book written about him opposing Strahd, named Jander, something like that. But they actually have a fairly large reference to him in the Avernus campaign that I was just like, holy crap! I
Jandar
recognize that.
Sunstar.
Yeah. And that's a deep cut. That is a deep cut. I felt like.
Jandar Sunstar, also
90.
known as Rothendal, is a gold elf Nosferatu.
What?
On Faerun, he was hunted by a vampire hunter named the Shark.
Shark.
Upon spending time in Barovia and inspiring the creation of the cult of the Morning Lord, he became the enemy of Count von Strahd von Zarovich. Wow. Man, I wish I had known that. He had attempted to kill Strahd with the holy symbol of Ravenkind, but the mist denied him his death and spirited him away.
He ends up in Avernus.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's a really neat cut.
Yeah.
That I just thought like that's.
And there's
there's a lot of crap like that. Connective tissue between the campaigns that are invisible unless you're like reading all of them and also know like the history of a lot of it. It's weird.
Yeah, like Ravenloft 2 is I've read through the entire module, and like I said, I'm not going to give anything away for it just in case. But it as much as it deviates from that, it also does things very similarly. So it's got a lot of nods. You're like, okay, we're playing a Ravenloft campaign, and that's cool. But
Yeah.
It's cool.
Let's see.
If there's any justice in the world one day.
I'm trying to think of other things. I feel like we actually got through more of the campaign than I expected. Now that I'm looking at what's out there.
You guys did do pretty good. The things that you missed are kind of individual things in individual areas. I mean, you didn't go to the Bone Grinder. You didn't go to Berez.
And we missed
But-
about half the castle.
Yeah, and you missed about half the castle. I mean, if I were going to pick any of those things for you guys to do, it would be the castle. The other ones, I'm just kind of like, The Bone Grinder is not that long. Like, it's... Enough for me
Yeah, I
to
looked at the
think
map
it's-
of it. It's like three
It's-
15 by 15 rooms.
Yeah, it's small.
It's I noticed on the world map there were a couple NPCs on the GM layer in the lake. Did we?
Mhm.
We didn't do that, did we?
No, so that's a random thing you kind of have to run into when you're up there. So I stole Arabelle and kind of repurposed her for the werewolf thing because that's actually where she's supposed to be. So Arabelle can almost she's one of your ally choices from the card reading also,
Oh.
which is just like, what is this little girl going to do against the darkness? The idea is that she kind of brings her clan of Astani more to your side, whereas the rest of Astani are 1,000% working for Strahd. So what happens in that encounter is that Bluto, which is a blacksmith that's under a spell, basically drags her out on a boat in the middle of Lake Zarovich in like a burlap sack and tosses her overboard.
Yeah.
And so when that triggers, basically you guys are on the shore seeing that, there's this guy in the boat. You see him reach down, grab a sack. You see the sack, kind of shudder slightly, and then he tosses it over. And then he rows back to shore and he walks past you, like 1,000-yard stare, straight back to town without realizing that he's under any sort of compulsion. And so it's just, you have this one chance to save Arabelle. And if she's your ally and you miss it, it sucks. But if she's not your ally and you miss it and then you figure out who it is, it's like, that was really horrible. What is this place? Why would they do that to a little girl?
So speaking
So
of her
it's-
clan, what was she trying to sell? What were they trying to sell Skirp towards the end there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it literally did nothing. It was for them to get gold and you guys to be ripped off. I will flip to that page and tell you what it is. It's
Fucking-
literally nothing.
Freaking con man.
They are 1,000% conmen. Oh, come on, Blocky, where are you? The Vistani camp. Yeah, he won't meddle in your affairs without Strahd's consent, but he's content to let Strahd do anything with you. For a hefty price, he offers to sell the character's potions that allow safe passage through the deadly fog that surrounds the valley. The potions don't do anything, which is exactly what it says. It says the potions don't work, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
In this case, it says, if you rescue Arabelle from Lake Zarovich and see her safely to the camp, he is overjoyed and repays the favor. He doesn't sell you the fake potions. He says they're not as potent as they could be. And he instead lets you choose a treasure from the Vistani treasure wagon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was a dentist in his former life.
The treasure wagon.
Don't forget to pick something from the treasure wagon on your way out.
And he says, if the characters ask something of the Vistani, but have not earned their goodwill, he agrees to do business with them. Either find his missing daughter, or procure 6 barrels of wine and bring them to the camp, which is another marker for the Wizard of Wines.
Aha.
His brother is also in the camp, and basically you don't want to screw with him because he'll end up just stabbing you in the back as soon as he can. Let's see what's in here. In the Vistani treasure wagon, it's basically a bunch of gold. There are 12 fake potions. There's a potion of poison, and the rest is literally just gold, or EP, or copper, or
Damn.
your regional equivalent.
No magical crossbows.
No magical crossbows.
Actually, I don't want to know if there were magical crossbows. I
There
don't want to
were
be disappointed.
there were no magical crossbows. 100%. I'm not lying to you. When I say there were no magic, there was basically no magic gear. There was basically no magic gear. You had like the 3 magic weapons in the entire campaign. Except there were
Hurriedly
4,
deleting
5.
things.
2 like there's like 5. 2 of them are maces,
Okay,
I
Helm
need
of
dex
Brilliance.
weapons.
and in Ravenloft.
Next time, Skirp, I'm gonna take the sun sword. You take the treebane axe.
Deal.
Oh, I forgot about Treebane. Okay, there's 6. But again, it's like specific items. Like if you were, I mean, and this kind of goes back to Raps. Like, what do you do if you're a marshal? You get lucky and you find Treebane, you find the Blood Spear.
Well, strength though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that
Don't
like,
be a dex marshal. It's the answer.
or probably the right answer is to come up with an array of ways to reflavor those in the right way, you know,
hmm
rather
Script
than
was,
just make it so players can play wrong.
he was low key jealous of the Blood Spear the entire campaign.
I
You
would have
had a
traded you in an
lightsaber.
instant for the lightsaber.
Oh no, the lightsaber was great, but like it's not about the Blood Spear, it's about the minions.
Right. I
Oh.
was another one of those things that I was really reluctant to
Cult of
call on.
personality.
It would have. So okay. Let me go open. What time is it? We're fine. Let me. At one point, I kept. I mean, after I moved and everything, it was really hard to keep up with my notes. But I had, as part of that, stream with Strahd notes. See how far back this goes. 2018. Whew.
Right.
All of the issues that happened.
By the way,
Yes.
Larry and Curly were gonna be in the portrait, but it was gonna be it was getting a little busy with all the additions. So
Oh, come on. Where is that? Because this is like Amber Temple stuff, so it's way before that.
Mm.
okay. Well,
Oh,
so-
Sangzor, the whole Sangzor thing with the giant evil goat.
Yeah.
Like, I just took that and put it right back into the Blood Spear clan thing because it fit too perfectly.
I forgot about that.
I was reluctant to use them because I felt like I didn't understand, even as a player, like exactly what their role was. Could I have asked them to help us with anything, and would they have actually done it?
So
Or was
they're
it just...
they're kind of like the native peoples of sort for that, but like a barbarian tribe, and they would have, because you were the person with the blood spear, they pretty much would have followed you anywhere.
You had the conch.
Should have ordered them to attack the cat. No, that would have been a dumb idea.
I had written down at one point where after you contracted lycanthropy, to kind of, if it came up as an option, to gather allies against Strahd, where you would sort of unite the clans,
There
where
was a few sessions there. I felt like that was what we were doing.
you would unite the blood spear and the werewolves and kind of make your own pack around you.
Oh my god.
I had, you're going to be so pissed at me when I tell you this part. So I had this set up where the blood spear, because you are the blood spear by owning the blood spear,
Mhm.
basically gets to choose the form of the blood spear. If basically you go through the blooding, like the bloodletting ritual of the blood spear and pass it.
Oh, I hate you.
I know, I'm sorry. But this was literal years ago. Like, this is like stuff from 2018. It would have just been, you to follow up on it with them.
Yeah, I felt like for a couple sessions there we were almost building to uniting the werewolves, the barbarians, and the revenants as, like, I don't know, we send them to march on the castle while we sneak in to accomplish our goal.
The real
But-
people of the land.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as we rally them all together, we send them off to fight and then we rush in to, I don't know.
to get ours.
It's very Star Wars, you know.
Yeah.
The heroes sneak behind enemy lines while people are sacrificing their lives to create a distraction. You know, Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Get the Ewoks in there. Like,
But we just ran out of time. I almost felt like we were building on that right up till we got the time limit.
Okay, here we go. So the specifics in here. I almost took the I forget what they call it when you the thing they did with Voldemort, where it's like they took the letters of his name and made it into a different name.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
But I had another name for Strahd. That was Mr. Trauddalius. That is, I am Lord Strahd. If you rearrange the. So Floki, I have Power of the Bones, or Power and Bones. This is possibly a suitable replacement for Strahd, but first he must find a way to survive his new hunger, for he has not yet discovered grave dirt. So at one point off screen, I had him figure this out and go towards the bone grinder because he could grind bones there.
Mm.
I have August's entry, which is basically just he's working for the Keepers. Gideon, Ritual of the Whispering Wall, the Blood Spear. The Berserker friend, Sabin, which was the guy that kept following you around,
Yeah.
approaches with the Berserker woman from the Ember Temple, Helwa, and tells Gideon that it's time for the blooding. They lead him to their shaman named Folk in the woods. And after that point, that's when it goes, you basically survive, kind of like trial by combat, do some peyote, and then if you survive, you get to choose, the blood spear.
That would have been interesting.
The Were treaties I had for Tally, which was you guys basically went through as sort of I wrote, where there's the schism in the werewolves, which is in the book already, but then the Keepers come in and have this, hey, some of them said they want to meet with us. We need somebody to kind of act as a go-between. Can you do that? So that one actually went pretty well. Skirps was, man, I feel like a crazy person because there's just like lines all over the place, and, because it changed so much. The initial one was Resurrect the Silver Order.
God, I wanted to. I was so into
And
that idea.
as it went on, and like as I read Hornguard again and everything, I was like, unless they find Sir Godfried, like this isn't going to work. And you were, like I said, if you were 2 rooms away, had you ended up in there, like this 100% would have gone off. And then I have your phylactery stuff in there too, where it's, this is his phylactery. Basically, it's going to A, point him to go find it, and then B, once he has it, it's going to point to the castle. The idea was that it's a red herring. You're like, okay, it's time to go fight Strahd. But once you got there, it was going to keep pulling you towards the study. And the idea was that there's this just like perfect podium that has this kind of like outline of dust where a book would sit open that perfectly fit your book. And then when you put it there, it was basically trapped in a way where it's like, okay, the book sinks in and like the color, instead of draining from you, comes back.
Oh.
And turns you back, mortal effectively. And then I was going to drop a bunch of basically animated books on you.
Speaking of color returning to my cheeks, what was up with the curse? What did Floki hit me with?
That was me.
Unfinished.
I have never thought that fast on my feet ever in my life. I pulled all of that as we were going because I had no idea you guys were going to do that. Effectively, what it was, I needed a card reading. Marionette came out. I'm sitting here staring at the marionette going, what do I do with this? Because Madame Eva, and I saw the chalice sitting there, and I was like, okay, we're rolling with this.
Right, it was the chalice. Okay.
So pretty much it was a cursed chalice. So it would give you per regeneration, but it was also cursed. And basically it was cursed with your worst fear. So for Tally, I thought that her worst fear would be that her allies succumb to the darkness of Barovia. And so she came to, and there's everybody sitting there zombified. And for Skirp, I was like, well, it's too low hanging fruit, like just to make it a book thing. So I was like, we're going to basically make him think that he's mortal again, and see kind of what he does with that information.
Mm.
And it kind of worked, but
Oh, I was ready, and then it went away like very abruptly, and I was like, all right, okay. So that would have been interesting.
Oh man, so of the scrolls you guys got out of the Amber Temple, there were a bunch. Some that Skirp destroyed. So there is a scroll of Heroes Feast that if you had actually used it, you were like, oh look, this all appears normal. And then as you started eating, it would have just all turned horrible and rotten and undead. Remove Cursed was also tainted. It actually worked, but then you would receive a random madness effect. There was Scrolls to Speak with Dead, but Strahd could just listen in on them. So, what'd you have here for madness from those? Being drunk keeps me sane. I find it hard to care about anything that goes on around me. I don't like the way people judge me all the time. I'm the smartest, wisest, strongest, fastest, and most beautiful person I know.
That one's just true.
Yeah, I'm convinced that powerful
madness.
enemies are hunting me, and their agents are everywhere I go. I'm sure they're watching me all the time. There's only one person I can trust, and only I can see this special friend. So it was those, basically everything, like I said, everything is trapped in Barovia. You don't want to trust anything. The other thing that I didn't, now that I'm looking through these notes, I didn't pick up on them enough, which goes back to me trying to corrupt Tally. It says Strahd will approach Tally alone about curing, in quotes, her friend, which is specifically for Floki. And I felt like I should have hammered on that a little bit more, and I did once, but it just kind of skipped off the surface, and I was like, I'll come back to that. I have to make it more, more enticing somehow. And that goes back to, one of my regrets about the campaign going over as long as it did. Like, some things just got forgotten over time, which is super, super unfortunate. And those are the things, and it's just like I think about it and I was like, I feel kind of bad. Because it didn't get necessarily run as perfect in all of those ways as I would have liked. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody else got any other questions, or is that it?
Can we talk about the D&D 5th edition meta plot for a moment?
Sure.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Okay. So in every campaign, and I don't know where it is in Strahd, but I've been assured that it exists. There is some sort of usually unimpressive or unexplained monolith or obelisk, usually black stone or dusty or something to that effect. Storm King's Thunder has one. Out of the Abyss has one. Everything except Lost Mines of Phandelver has an obvious one or two or three. And there's something about them, and somebody asked Jeremy Crawford about it, and he said he can't talk about it. But there is some, and I don't know where it is in Strahd. I was waiting to see if we'd ever run into it.
There is. I'm trying to think. The only thing I could think of that's close to that, and it kind of has to do with Yester Hill, where the Golthias tree was and where the Blood Spear happened. Off in the distance, there's this kind of like illusion through the mists where you can see this old. It looks almost like a capital city of sorts. And it names it, but I don't remember what it is. But it's just like, it's a name drop, and that's all that happens. And that's the only thing I can think of that's any kind of similar.
Okay.
Hang on.
Doesn't mean it's not in here. I just might not be thinking of it.
They're always unimportant to the plot. usually just got like side quests attached to them, or they just get like a name drop or a description drop. But there's definitely something there, and they've asked Crawford about it. They've asked Perkins about it, and Perkins refers everybody to Crawford about it, and Crawford says, "Nope, can't talk about it." And there's something there. I don't know. Still waiting for it to come out.
I'm gonna have to look through it a little bit more and see if it's just something that I might have read over too. I was like, oh yeah, there's an obelisk there. Cool, there's no story, which might be.
It might be called a monolith. They do that a lot. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just Googled it. There's some mention of an obelisk on Saint Ectorina's Hill, or obelisk of Saint Ectorina on Saint's Hill.
Saint's Hill.
It might be. I'm just kind of skimming, so
I don't remember Saint's Hill. It might be something with Kresk.
I wish I had a searchable PDF so I could just look for the word monolith or obelisk in the PDF.
It says at Saint's Hill.
I know I just took us way off the beaten
Oh,
path
don't worry.
there.
Yeah.
It's something that I think about more than I ever probably should. Probably more than they ever intended.
I think it's probably at Berez. Hold on. Let me pull up Berez.
Did you say Yester Hill, Skirp?
Yeah. No.
There's an entire chapter on that.
No, he didn't say Yester Hill. He said Saint Hill.
Yeah.
The magical fanes, the megaliths of Saint Andrel, the menhirs of Saint Markovia, and the ruins of Berez, and the obelisk of Saint Icarnia at Saint's Hill. What was called Lysaga Hill? Okay, so it is Berez.
Okay, hang on. I'm coming in because I want to look. What chapter is that?
10. But now I have to see if I can actually find this in here. It might just be a name drop. Circle of Standing Stones. The menhirs were raised by the same ancient folk who carved the megaliths near the old bone grinder.
Oh, megaliths in front of the old bone grinder. Of course, it's everywhere we never went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. It's the Circle of Standing Stones that sound like they're the. This is also, that's where I did the Lich ritual for the other party. Was at the Circle of Stones. I actually just kind of a pseudo tower defense thing. It was interesting. My notes from the in-person game, it says just like going through it, bake something when it's dream pastry time. and then wait to tell them until after they've eaten. Oh, I'm so mean.
Oldest structures in the Balinock Mountains, older than the Amber Temple, much older than Castle Ravenloft.
Yeah, so that's
kind of fit the description.
Probably what you're looking for. But I mean, Barovia is also like a demi-plane, so I mean, it might be outside of their scope. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's hard to. Maybe one day it'll actually come out and we'll know.
Any druid that uses the wild shape feature within the circle gains the maximum number of hit points available to the new form. Oh. That's interesting. Anyway, I don't know. I would love to discover more about that, and I'm hoping that someday they do with it. Because like fourth
maybe.
edition had a meta plot that was, you know, a through line through all the campaigns. And I was just hoping, you know, I think they're doing something similar, just much more quietly in fifth edition.
Well, I mean, if they dropped it to coincide with the release of Baldur's Gate, then that'd be kind of cool. It feels like that's something they should be working towards now. Is like putting
that
out
could be.
an AP or something to go with the Baldur's Gate game.
Hmm.
They're gonna drop a full campaign that preludes into the game.
Oh, are
Well,
they?
that's Avernus, isn't it?
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus.
Oh.
But
I'm pretty sure that's already out, right?
yeah, I've been running it for Rap and some others for a little while.
And it's going to lead into the whole the Mind Flayer thing.
The thing is that the Baldur's Gate stuff is only the first chapter, and I'm pretty sure that's where it cuts off, like the lead-in. You know, it's just the state of the city at that point, and it doesn't actually have anything to do with the. It's not required reading for playing the game. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, because man,
Yep. There's all sorts of stuff like that all over the place.
Yeah.
Because Strahd. And they always have to lead it back to, you know, Arena, Tatiana, you know, some various permutation of that.
Yeah.
Because that's, I mean, that was the price that the Dark Powers made basically for Strahd's like, okay, give me what I want. And they're like, okay, but you have to live this forever and ever and ever and ever because we think it's funny.
Eternity is a long time. Well, I'm out of questions.
I was going to say I think that wrapped up.
Sweet.
That wrapped up nice. I didn't want to bomb this like in the middle of people talking, so I'll just tap it in here. I saved this a couple weeks ago. It's Kilt's happy epilogue.
So for Kilt, like I left his kind of purposefully unresolved because I couldn't kill him. I thought about it, but I couldn't do it. And B, I think it's something to just leave out there. The Vistani, he's with the Vistani. They aren't. I mean, they're evil, but they have precedent for taking children in and things like that. So it's
No, he's coming with me. He will. He's joining Skirp, and then as a young man, he'll venture out on his own and tell the story of the heroes who saved Barovia from the Dark Lord Strahd, and it'll be his epic.
Until
I
Strahd
definitely
comes
want to
in.
play in the game that you play, Kilt, so I can hear all the past stories of Skirp through Kilt's eyes.
God, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I feel like I should write up something that I can stash away in my D&D box. In
Yeah.
case it's like years from now and I don't remember any of this.
Well, you can always go back and watch the
That's right, I can. Oh man.
Yep. That's
And then
all
I can
out
just
there.
100 hours of content.
convert every episode into like another verse of the song.
Mm.
Oh my god.
And then Skirp got eaten by, oh god, what was it? Trash pile. I don't even remember what the name of it was.
Shambling
Shambling trash
Shambling
pile.
mound. Oh man.
God, that was a good campaign.
Can't believe you got eaten by a shambling mound.
Yeah.
After we were allowed to leave,
I saved you all from that shambling mound.
it was literally just sitting there, and you're like, I'm gonna stick a torch in it.
Oh shit.
It sounds like that's all she wrote then, right, gents? Any last words for
Uh,
chat or anybody whoever watches this on YouTube in the future?
I mean,
And then they all lived happily ever after.
until they
Yeah.
didn't.
Big
Damn,
big
why you
ups,
got Strahd on it?
big ups to Pef for being our DM and dealing with our craziness.
Mm,
For real.
for
Thank
years.
you for running.
For
Years.
years.
Literal years.
I mean, genuinely, like, thanks for sticking it out. I know we had a lot of downtime and craziness and a little bit, not quite abrupt, but, towards the end. You guys did awesome. I'm glad I got to run it for you. It was a lot of fun. Glad I got to introduce some of my favorite people to some of my other favorite people. So, thanks for being awesome players and sticking it out and dealing with me not always being a perfect DM. It was great. I appreciated it.
This is the only campaign I've ever been in that finished.
Same.
I think me too.
Well, I'm glad that I could do that for you guys then, because it does really, really suck when you can't finish a campaign.
I'm gonna like bask in that for a while. Also, this little picture of my best boy.
Seriously, like,
Proud Papa.
that is like, for that too. Like, thank you. This image is so cool.
I'm not joking. I do. I really genuinely want a
Yeah.
like framed print or
I need-
something of this.
I need to get this up on my wall somewhere.
The highest quality. I've actually got the bare space directly to my right here. Perfect.
That like the dimensions of it
We've
are
already started pricing out the canvas, and so the largest canvas we can get would be just under $200, but it would take up like a wall.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't have the big of wall, but
uh
I also don't have that
Good.
problem paying for that, so I would do it because it's cool.
I'm gonna try and bug. I see if I can find. Oh, I do know somebody who works in a print shop. I'm gonna bug somebody to figure out how far I can stretch it before it starts to really get gross. But just general googling, it looks like it's gonna be something like 12 by 18, like maybe a little bit bigger to get it
That's
real high quality.
that's actually pretty much what I want. Yeah.
So
Right.
that's like poster size.
Yeah. I think it could go something like 25 inches tall and then some wide.
Yeah, I would almost say like 18 inches
Yeah.
long, wide
Well,
would be.
wide. Yeah, I think it can go like. I was googling like.
All right, chat. Thanks for watching over 3.5 years. We all appreciate you continuing to be here. We are going to end here. I hope you got any closure and got all your questions answered. If you did not, feel free to drop them in the comments and we will respond to the YouTube comments as far as any questions that still exist. You guys have a wonderful thing. Thanks for hanging out for the 3.5 years campaign that we've done, and it is all on YouTube. You all are amazing, and you have a wonderful night. Thank you. The end.